O merciful Creator, your hand is opened wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence, and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
District 2, Commissioner Mike Moore.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Catherine Starkey. District 4, Commissioner Mike Wells.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Here.
District 1, Chairman Ron Oakley.
Here. Now's the time for public comment. Citizens were given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the Board of County Commission public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items placed on future board agenda or other business under their purview. Public comment for public hearing items are taken during their individual public hearings beginning at 1:30 p.m. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and your address for the clerk, the timer was on the podium will start at countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound and the light will change from green to yellow, letting you know that you have 1 minute remaining. After time is up, 2 beeps will sound. The light will change from yellow to red, indicating you had 3 minutes are up and it's time to close your statements. Okay, and we have people signed up for public comment.
We do. So I'm going to call the first 4 that have signed up. Please line up in this order. Ms. Carrie Lane, Mr. William Fuller Jr., Mr. Mitchell Kobernick, and Ms. Diane Kobernick. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Patricia Higgins, not Carrie Lane. I live at 15400 Bermondsey Street, Hudson.
Okay.
I'm here to thank everyone for our road, and I'm being able to breathe a little better. My lungs aren't getting tight with the lime rock anymore. And thank you all for all your help. I really appreciate it. But there's one thing I have a question, and maybe you can answer it. It's about Carrie Lane. We have a monster that lives on Carrie Lane. His mother was allowed to buy that street, where my husband at the time and I were told that if we bought it, that he had to travel over that road every day, and we would be liable if there was ever an accident. So we called our insurance company, and of course we couldn't insure that property, so we didn't buy it. So his mother lived in Virginia, and they let her buy a street in Hudson, Florida. How did she know about it, except she had worked for the county? We have asked for a permit to put a simple storage unit in a shed, small, not big. It's going to cost us $408 for a permit, which we're putting in for, and they put it under the wrong person's name. But anyways, he has put a house in there. He has had a trailer that was condemned on property and never supposed to build there again, and he brought the house in on a weekend. He's a weekend warrior. And he has now put 2 roadways out onto Little Road. He has an abandoned bus parked in his, that shows on a Little Road. It's just a mess up there. And we're looking to beautify Pasco, and you have this guy with all this garbage. He has a building he runs a shop out of. Never got permits for any of it. I've lived there all this time, so I know what Mr. Bum Stupid has done. And I just hope, I don't see where it's fair. I don't mind paying my fair share. I don't mind that, doesn't bother me at all. But to have somebody put a building up and destroy a little road, to me, that's wrong. And he's not paying his fair share. And he gets away with all this stuff. What about the water management? And he's putting driveways on Little Road, has dirt drawn in there. How does he get away with it? I don't know. Maybe you can find out for me.
Thank you for your
so
comments.
much.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, for the good of the board as well, just to let you know, we are in litigation with that gentleman she's talking about.
Okay.
So we can't comment on it, but
All right, thank you. Name and address for the clerk.
Good morning, my name is William Fuller. I live at 15400 Bermondsey Street also. I just want to compliment and thank everybody concerned for refixing our road. We were fighting it since October 2015 because of lime rock dust. Finally, thanks to Mr. Adumawa and the road crew, the road and bridge, I really appreciate what they've done. I want to thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Name and address for the clerk.
Mitchell Kobernick, 5001 South Shore Drive. I'd like to address today how the county notifies the public about public hearings. The county's standard practice is to publish a notice in the Tampa Bay Times in the Pasco County edition on a Friday, which ends up being 11 days before any BCC meeting. Now, I've got nothing against the Times, but not everybody subscribes to a newspaper these days anymore. So in addition to the bare legal minimum, why doesn't the county also publish these notices on its website? The county's got a very nice website, actually, and under the tab that's labeled Transparency, there is a section called Public Notices. This would seem to be a great place to post these notices of public hearings, but they're not there, so why not? And also, you could try publishing in the Suncoast News, which is a free publication that's sent to Pasco homes, even if it's just a small memo to point people to further information on the Pasco County website. So that doesn't cost very much to do. And that would be a simple thing to do if the goal was truly to inform the public rather than just to meet the required legal minimums. Let me give you an example of why this is such an important issue. This past May, Pasco County published a notice that the county was going to pass a new MSBU to buy the Gulf Harbors Golf Course. The notice was published in the Tampa Bay Times on Friday, which is the county's standard practice. However, in this case, the county's attorney, Ms. Nikki Spiritos, tried to get the Times to publish it on Thursday instead. The only reason it wasn't moved was because she missed the deadline. Now, by the way, in case you're wondering, I do have documentation from the Tampa Bay Times to back up what I've just said. So this begs the question, why was she trying to deviate from the county's standard practice of publishing on a Friday and instead move the notice to a day when even less people would be able to see it? If the county would just post these notices on its website and not just rely on the newspaper, it could avoid being accused of trying to hide their actions from the public. This all in the name of transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Name and address for the clerk.
Diane Kobernick, 5001 South Shore. Commissioners and Mr. Dan Biles, I spent the last year taking my time to speak to you about Pasco County's lack of policies and procedures. Since it appears that my time was wasted in 3-minute increments, I chose to email you, Mr. Dan Biles, directly to ask you if you were aware of policies and procedures. Most of my emails were forwarded to public requests. I received an email, on August 8th, I received an email from Public Request saying that I should send her my request directly. My intent was to send the emails directly to you for you to assess the county's policies and procedures, or lack thereof. Policies and procedures exist to keep the staff in line with what is requested of them by the county. In these public hearings, I have heard staff say that a project was consistent with county's policies and procedures. Then I have also heard people stand up and say that it is not consistent with county's policies. They actually read your land and development code back to you to prove it. I have listened to staff tell you that glass was too expensive for recycling, only to have the owners of another glass recycling company tell you that they've been trying to reach your staff to no avail. I've listened to citizens' complaints that the companies you choose to repave streets at those citizens' expense exceeded other bids by more than $1 million, and the work was of inferior quality. But since you created paving assessments, cost doesn't matter, you pass it on to the taxpayers, so who cares? I've listened to your staff tell you that voting was in favor of a project. Voting can be manipulated for desired results. That's a direct quote from one of your county commissioners. I have listened to your staff state that real property purchases were supported by appraisals. Yet according to the answers given to me by public request, you have no policies for county to purchase real property. I am still hoping the county intends to implement formal policies and procedures and create a real transparency in this county and end this Wild West tactics. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, the next three signed up for public comment are Dan Callahan, Joe Pasanis, and Nick Mudry. Please line up in that order and give your name and address for the record.
Dan Callahan, 7108 Daggett Terrace, Newport Richey. A friend of mine just spoke to the kids incarcerated at the juvenile center, and when asked what he did for a living, he told them that after leaving the military, he soon became the person in charge of approving all the contracts for FEMA worldwide. Ultimately, he was responsible for more than $7 billion, how it was spent, to whom contracts were given, and whether those contracts were filled as they said they would be. When Harry Truman said, "The buck stops here," he was talking about my friend. He finished his career with honor, his integrity intact, because ultimately he believed that the buck didn't stop at his president's desk, it stopped at his. Hundreds of millions of dollars are changing hands here in Pasco County as your decisions change the face of our natural Florida into concrete pavement and pounded dirt. You think that's progress, and it well might be change that's inevitable, but it should ensure that as much of natural Florida is preserved in perpetuity as is possible. And perpetuity isn't 50 years or 20 years or 5 years. It's forever for your children's children and their children. As your vision of Pasco County's future aligns with the paving over that we saw in Pinellas County, my question is this: is all this money being spent legally and morally and ethically, with no one in either an elected or appointed position benefiting by filling their pockets with money that is not theirs? I sincerely hope that you are honest caretakers with whom I disagree only about keeping the Serenova track and the larger Starkey Preserve intact and free of a highway to nowhere. I truly hope that if anyone in the Pasco government is becoming wealthy through graft or any form of corruption, that each of you would do the right thing, investigate it or report it to the correct authorities, and then expose it.
Thank you for your comments. Name and address for the clerk.
Joe Passanisi. I reside at 2837 Plantain, which is in Holiday. I'm here today to appeal to the commissioners to enact legislation to correct a situation created by the Pasco County Planning Department. How would I know? I was a planning engineer for St. Louis County government, a population of roughly twice the size of Pasco County. The problem has to deal with a development called the Preserve at Gulf Trace. Could you go back a picture? Okay, this is at the intersection That's my car. I tried this pointer, but it doesn't work on the screen. The car is there where people would exit a street called Breezeway Inlet. And you can see, looking to the right, there's a curve in the road. Go to the next slide, please. Next picture, please. Okay, that one, okay. Now, that's what it looks like in the car. And there's been some plant material removed on private property, but there's still limited sight distance because there's a curve in the road. You have roughly 200 feet of sight distance under this situation. What is really needed is that plant material beyond private property needs to be removed to give you 300 feet of sight distance. I talked with the administrator's office, and they said that Public Works would correct that. They would actually move that plant material. And I'm saying to myself, the developer is responsible for making sure that sufficient sight distance exists for traffic exiting his development, not Pasco County. So I have a statement here that I've put together. I'd like to submit it to the commissioners.
Move to receive and file?
Yes, file. Yes.
Got a motion and a second to receive and file. All those in favor, aye? Aye.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Hand it to the clerk.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Nicholas Mudry. I live at 5415 Joe Beth Drive, Newport Richey, Florida. I live in the community of Gulf Landings and sometimes is referred to as the Sea Forest area. I'm asking the Commissioners to please continue with very vigorously the dredging issue within Pasco County. I know it is not on the agenda, but I'm asking you, each of you, to pursue it. Why am I asking you to do this? It's because it benefits the whole community. Could I see a show of hands by the commissioners? How many of you own boating vessels, recreational vessels? 1, 2. Are the commissioners aware of what is the largest retail marine aftermarket store in Florida? It is called West Marine. You'll find West Marine from St. Augustine to Key West to Fort Walton Beach. But what you won't find is one in Pasco County. We used to have one, but they picked up their marbles and they moved to Hernando County. And I called West Marine in California, a town called Watsonville. And I asked them, why did they move the store? They said, well, each store is independently owned, but the demographics of the canal system and the waterway system in Pasco County does not warrant continuation of the store. What did that do to Pasco County? We all know that the state sales tax is 5 cents on the dollar. Pasco County tax on 2 used to be 6 cents not too long ago. Our tax dollars are going north and south. Why? We need our waterways corrected. And I'm asking each and every one of you to seriously consider dredging our canals. It's very important for us. It'll raise the property values, which is raise the funding for the county through property taxes. It's trickle economics upward, not downward. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, sir.
2 more. The final 2 signed up to speak are Wallace Geiger and Scott Alvarez.
Name and address for the clerk.
My name is Wallace Geiger. I live at 6116 Bayside Drive, also in the Sea Forest area that was just mentioned. I'm here to encourage you to make sound fiscal decisions based on the idea that There, in Gulf Landings alone, are over 530 single residential family dwellings. There are some miles of canals that support those, and all of this supports the tax base for that particular piece. You add that to the areas immediately south, which are the Woodlands and Gulf Harbors, and you're well over 3,000 residents. Well over 3,000 people committing taxes to Pasco County. In the area where I live in Gulf Landings, we are now the recipient of a great deal of street runoff, and our canals have filled in with gook, not sand, not rocks, they didn't grow up out of the bottom, but just general muck. When I bought the house here close to 20 years ago, I could stand underneath my boat lift at low tide in 6 feet of water. I can still stand under my boat lift at low tide in 6 feet of water, but the mud is up to my waist. That needs to be pulled back out because that's stuff that came from the streets. It's not stuff that came in from the Gulf. A great deal of the property that is submerged in those canal systems belongs to Pasco County. Most of the items that went into the water, changing it from salt to now brackish water, have caused different growths in the canals that make them unclear from when we used to get here. We don't really need anything other than to have our property maintained from the intrusion of the fresh water and the organic material that comes from the streets. And therefore, I would ask you to support dredging of this material as soon as possible, because the boats that we need get bigger and bigger, and the canals get skinnier and skinnier. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments.
Commissioners, Scott Alvarez, 4401 Sand Dollar Court. One, thank you for your time, and I'll make this sort of short and sweet. You will hear a lot of angles on the need for dredging from the component of valuation of properties, perhaps resale of real estate, taxpayers, and so forth, impact fees. A whole nother component, and this is a spin that I even welcome you to go for a ride on my boat, to see at low tide. The best way to describe channels is sort of the waterway, the road equivalent for what a car would do, and boats. And anyone navigating the canals is going to make the assumption that it's safe. In other words, as long as I'm inside the green and the orange, I'm not going to hit anything. I can tell you that within the canals that I navigate, primarily North Channel, you will strike bottom at not so much even low tide, but even mid tide. I'm already having little souvenirs on the lower side of my boat to remind me of these. So I actually welcome you to go for a ride on my boat, and I'll point these out to you to see that we're not making this up. So when I say this, I come to you from the component of not just the initial dredging, which will probably be the most costly, but also maintenance. In other words, so that we don't have to keep coming up and having these issues addressed. Perhaps yearly, little touch-ups, tune-ups, if you will, of the canal system to make for safe boating for all those trying to enjoy the waterway. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's all we have signed up. Is there anyone in the audience would like to speak that did not sign up earlier? Yes, sir. Come forward and come on up, line up.
Ken Dabbs, 4617 Florimar Terrace, Newport Richey, Florida. I drove by the Magnolia Valley Golf Course and saw that boarded up, nasty looking clubhouse that the county owns and has owned for a considerable length of time. That was May 21st, according to my notes. I went to the code office right around the corner in this building and requested to file a complaint because you can't board a building over 30 days per, let me see if I have it here. Pasco County Ordinance, Section 18-104, Paragraph 8. 30 days maximum. After that, you either demolish the building or you put in windows and doors. The other option is to post a security guard. So you're in violation. They would not let me file a complaint at the code enforcement office in this building. So I went around the corner, straight across the hall to the commissioner's offices and talked to the receptionist and explained it and asked her to have someone contact me. Approximately 2 weeks later, KB, who I believe is Commissioner Starkey's assistant, did contact me, said she was filing the complaint for me, and she would get back to me the following week with the status of the complaint. I haven't heard a word from anyone. So, also on May 21st, I emailed every single one of you commissioners about this. Never heard a word from any of you. On, I believe it's August 8th of this year, I wrote to Dan Biles, our county administrator, and asked him for 3 things. A copy of the law that says the county doesn't have to follow its own ordinances, the written and approved procedure for handling customer complaints, because nobody gets back to me, and the written and approved procedure for filing, accepting, and processing a code compliance complaint. Haven't heard back from Dan. Haven't heard from anyone. You people are running this county like a bunch of 6-year-olds. Get some policies, some procedures in place, and allow me to ask questions and get answers. It's that simple. I think I deserve answers.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I could, sir, just so you're aware, because it sounds like you're not aware because nobody communicates to you. This is my district, so I apologize. I did not see the email. Our next meeting, we're approving, as long as the board approves it, to demolish the building. So it'll be at our next meeting in 2 weeks. So
I'm
we
watching
are
that
moving
building.
forward
We
with
have
it.
30 days.
Yes. No, I don't disagree, sir. Thank you. Just so the board's aware, it'll be at our next meeting.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the clerk?
My name is Gigi Evans. My address is 6315 Spoonbill Drive in Gulf Landings, also
Happy
Sea Forest.
birthday.
Oh, thank you. I am the president of the Gulf Harbors Beach Club, and there are several members that are a member of our beach club that also have boats. And I have heard, as being a title agent in the area, that we have sometimes had situations about trying to sell our properties in Gulf Harbors because of the dredging that we need so desperately in that area. There are many people that do use boats that are really having issues as far as repairs and things because the area does need dredging. And when they're talking about the stuff, the gook that's in the bottom, there's gook in the bottom. So I just kind of wanted to let everybody know that the people that I've spoken with, whether it be through purchasing a property or not purchasing a property, or a member of the Gulf Harbors Beach Club, that we are interested in Jack and Catherine taking care of us for Gulf Harbors and Sea Forest. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Name and address for the clerk?
Hey, Musso, 7114 Ashwood Drive, Port Richey.
Okay.
So on a good note, Jack called me this morning on my way here, and our road is flooded, been flooded 7 days today. Partially due to the pond being overflown, over high, or whatever. The highway department approved, the DOT approved for them to put a pumper to do it directly to the ditches off in 19. Thank you for that part. Definitely a relief to us residents that cannot get out. We have a 94-year-old neighbor that we've had to take in and out with my husband's truck because she can't get out and she's a nervous wreck that she's been dislocated to another residence to be safe. Another thing I would like to address is there's a drug house, Catholic Charities. It was given to them. We call it the drug house because there's been drug issues there. Nobody lives there now, but years ago, back in 17, it was supposed to be, they bought it from these people to make us a retention pond is what they were told. Give it to Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities is now giving it back, I believe, to the county. And we kind of want to move forward with when that's going to happen, so we don't have this issue. It's happened in 15 and 17, flooding. In 17, it was 8 weeks that we had stagnant water. We just kind of want to move forward with this house to be torn down, and even if it's sand or whatever, to have it some type of retention pond with a pumping station to alleviate our road from flooding, because it's an ongoing problem that has not been rectified. And I would appreciate moving forward quicker than a year and a half, as I was told by someone yesterday from the county that came out and looked at it. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that everyone in the public would like to speak at this time, or anyone else? Seeing no one, that ends the public comment period. Next is resolutions, and I only have one resolution, which is time certain for 1:30. So we'll move on to consent items. I have one item pulled, C20. Pleasure to board on the other consent items.
Move for approval. Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve all other items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passed. C20.
C20, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move for approval. I just want to have a quick discussion on it.
Okay.
I want to commend staff for trying to do something creative, something that is kind of out there a little bit to try to make it happen. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I can tell you this, if we try it, it won't hurt us. It may give us an opportunity to actually really try to capitalize the best it could possibly be. So I just want to say, I want to look at it closely, maybe in 6 months, come back to us, give us a report, or even just come to me one-on-one and just kind of see how it goes along. But I'm going to move approval for it, and I want to thank you for your diligence, your effort that is always detailed, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Brent Wall, Fleet Management Director, by the way. But yes, sir, we look forward to this project, and we'll be happy to come back and keep you abreast.
You have faith in you. Move approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Okay. We'll move on to regular agenda, R1.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Bill Cronin. I'm President and CEO of the Pasco EDC. I live at 4048 Empoli Court, Wesley Chapel, Florida. It's my pleasure to present to you today our quarterly results for the quarter ending on June 30th, which is our third quarter for our fiscal year, for both the Memorandum of Understanding Agreement that we have with you all, as well as the Penny for Pasco funding agreement. And I'll start with the Memorandum of Understanding. Nice photo of one of our companies that expanded here in the chambers not that long ago, AJ's Power Source. Our pipeline is still full. Currently, we've got 9 wins that we've claimed already this year. I've got a couple more in the hopper that hopefully we'll see in the next couple weeks as not just wins, but also announcements. Inquiries and the leads remain healthy, and this is stuff that we'll be focused on through the upcoming years. If you look at where the majority of our leads and projects are coming from, still real heavy in the area of manufacturing, and that makes us very happy because manufacturing has a multiplier effect which creates more jobs than some of the other industries. If you look at where we're at in terms of our overall goals, and these are stretch goals, 9 out of 15, we've still got a couple months to reach those goals. Capital investment, we're at about $50 million and 242 net new jobs to our community. And also on each of these, I will go through the highlights and leave lots of times that you can ask questions afterwards. For business retention and expansion, I think this is one of the most important things that we do is working with our existing business. We all get really excited about companies that we recruit here. Everybody loves ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings, but we don't always give enough attention to those companies that are adding 1 or 2 jobs at a time. This is where these actions these efforts take place, is to help that existing company grow. And it's also our best advertisement for other companies to come and locate here, is how we take care of our existing companies. As of June 30th, we had visited 32 existing. I can tell you we're up around 80 right now, since we have a new staff person that came on board this spring, Miss Jenny Samore. Many of you have met Jenny. She's here today in the audience. I encourage everyone to say hello to her, but she'll be handling our business retention expansion efforts, working with existing business as well as international. Our talent and workforce area, also part of BRE, but also part of our Penny for Pasco with the workforce development portion of our department called Workforce Connect, or formerly known as the Pasco Pipeline. To date, we've had 32 referrals over to the apprenticeship program, to the M-Skills program. We've also conducted joint calls with CareerSource, Pasco Hernando, and then referrals over to the Pasco Pipeline, which is that workforce development program. We completed a survey that will be published in Q4, and that has to do with workforce needs of our local community. Face-to-face engagements, this is where we get out, tell the story of Pasco County, tell the story about what different programs that are offered for our existing business as well as new businesses coming in. Our staff attended 19 events that quarter, and then 7 development conferences and market missions. And this is where we go out into the country. So included in that is a trip to New York, New Jersey, where we hired a lead generator to meet with companies that were looking to move. And these are kind of stealth in nature, because not all companies want people to know they're moving. But we're out there, and sometimes places like New York are our hunting ground because of their taxation. 5 presentations to our local business groups. This includes not just some of the local business groups like Keep It Local, but also Enterprise Florida, which is our state agency for economic development. We will educate them on what Pasco has to offer, in hopes that as they have more projects, that they will steer more of them towards us. On the marketing side, we've actually earned over $343,000 in earned media value. And if you're in marketing, that means something for the rest of us. I'll explain it in layman's terms. That is where we have gotten a multiplier, because our stories out there are generating a positive spin that we're not having to pay for. So that's leveraging those resources using our advertising and our marketing. Google Analytics are up, and again, these are tools of the trade for marketing. But the good news is that you're seeing increases all around, not just on social media, but on people that are actually just searching the web looking for Pasco County as a place to do business. Facebook posting and social media all up, and the engagement rate continues to be high. We had 4,900 engaged users in Facebook. That means people that we're actually having dialogue with, and we're not just putting messages out, but we're answering inquiries and things like that. As far as our leadership and financial growth, currently we have 80, or as of June 30th, we have 87 total investors. We've got some new ones since then that I'll report on at the end of the year. $378,000 of private sector donations that go towards the cause. Our goal is 481. I can tell you that we have over 30 to 40,000 right now that will be coming in the next few weeks, because it is the end of the year. That figure does not include sponsorship for our events. Many of you know that our events are all private sector sponsored, and it does not also include the revenues or donations that are made towards a microloan fund. So there's even more private sector dollars that are leveraged than shows right there. Also, we have 33 board members now, 4 ex officio, a couple new investors, First Citrus Bank and the Sinclair Group. Task forces. So we've got 2 task forces that are ongoing right now. County staff is involved in both of those with us as well. The first is the Industrial Development Authority Task Force, the IDA. That is scheduled to sunset very soon. and you'll be getting a recommendation from that task force on next steps as far as whether or not to establish an IDA. The second one is the Food Hub Task Force, which we work closely together with the University of Florida, with the Ag Extension Office, out at the Stallings Center, and through our Smart Start program. That's been very successful, and I believe we'll continue to work on that until the whole network is complete. Legislative update. Our Policy Council has already met with Representative Ardian Zika already this year. We're scheduled to meet with Representative Maggard coming up in a couple of weeks, and then also with Representative Mariano, not to be confused with Commissioner Mariano, and then Senator Simpson. Session is early this year, as you know. They're going to be in Tallahassee in a month. So it's really important for us to get in front of all these issues early in the game. And also with the fact that we've got such a powerhouse now at the state level, it's really important for us to make sure that Pasco County and Pasco EDC takes advantage of that power curve, meaning Senator Simpson will be president of the Senate in 2 terms, as well as having Chris Sprouls from our neighboring county as a speaker at that time, puts us in a very good position. Also, our Policy Council worked on our Leadership Award. So once a year, we identify an individual that has basically a lifetime achievement award for what they've done in Pasco County as it relates to development, charity, philanthropy, and making a difference. And that person has been identified for this year. You will see them at our annual awards in September. Lastly, the Pasco EDC strategic plan. We're coming to the end of our 3-year strategic plan. The next plan starts this fall. This Friday, we will have a workshop that includes some core members of that planning committee to start drafting what the next strategic plan will look like, and then we'll have a retreat in a few weeks to finalize that. I think it's really important to mention that this next 3-year plan will end in 2022. It's about the same time that we'll be going back to the taxpayers to talk about the penny again. So it's really important that our strategic plan, as well as working together with the county's strategy, that we're in line to be able to take advantage of what could be opportunities as we go back to the taxpayers in 2022. A lot of things are changing in the world as it relates to industry and our business needs, and this should align not just our strategy, but your all's as well. Upcoming events, upcoming when we turn this in, August 14th, we had our lunch and learn. We do a series of lunch and learns throughout the year that anyone can come and learn about what we do. You don't have to be a business person. You don't necessarily even have to be a taxpayer. Come sit and spend lunch with us, and we'll tell you about all of our programs. The only thing I would ask is we don't send our competitors to us so that we're not telling them what we're doing necessarily. And then our trade awards coming up September 5th at Saddlebrook. We're expecting a very large crowd again, and you should have seen on your social media several of the companies that have been recognized and nominated for awards this year are already out there. I'll stop on the MOU before I proceed to the Penny for Pasco. Was there any questions on those items?
I just thank you, Mr. Cronin, for everything you've done here in the county. We appreciate all of it. I mean, it's a lot of exciting things been happening here in this county. So.
We're not done yet.
Oh, I know, we're not done. We got a lot more to go. So.
Well, and if you allow me to, I'll go briefly as it relates to the Penny for Pasco. And you recall, that is a 3-year agreement, and our report card, it's all in your packets, but it includes all the minutia over 3 years, not just this last quarter. So I'll go through the highlights as usual, but before I do, point your attention to the photo. This is at the Stallings Center, and this was thanks to our local company, Wellbuilt, that's headquartered here in Pasco County. One of our only Fortune 1000 companies headquartered made a generous donation of kitchen equipment to the Stallings Center, which will be used not just for the for Smart Start, but also to teach locals how to cook, prepare food, and work in the kitchen incubator.
Great.
So briefly, the big bucket areas on the Penny for Pasco Ready Sites, I think, is probably one that's the most visible. And this was the site certification program that y'all approved 3 years ago. I'm happy to say that we have 4 sites that have been evaluated and are actively being marketed now. We've got a 5th site that was just approved for the program, and we've got 1 site that's being assessed right now. So these are sites for industrial development, job creation activity, and I want to show you an example of how we're marketing those. What you're going to see is a slide portraying the site out in Zephyr Hills, which is adjacent to the airport. And we'll be marketing this at the National Business Aviation Association show to try to attract some aviation-related business to that area. So she'll cue up the video.
Very dear to my heart.
I think you might like that one.
East Pasco County, so
Yeah.
I'd like a copy of that, by the way.
Absolutely. And we'll arm all of you with each of the videos. So every site that we evaluate will be providing a similar based on the industry sectors that are best suited for that. That particular video, the drone footage, was done by one of our local companies, and it gave them the opportunity to do something new and different. But having been in this business a while and competing with other people around the United States, I can tell you that this is exactly the information that the site selectors will want to see, and also end users. So it speaks volumes for itself. It is your penny at work. So I'm really proud of what the staff has been doing in terms of marketing those sites. Also on the penny, we do our international program, foreign direct investment missions. We've had Japan. We had Tampa Bay, the Global Tampa Bay, going to Amsterdam in conjunction with that very first flight from Delta from Tampa International Airport. We filled the plane with business people to go out, and we hired lead generators again to do one-on-one appointments to try to bring back business here. Lastly, we did the Select USA with the U.S. Department of Commerce at the White House, and the World Forum for FDI, which we are a regular sponsor of that event. CEO Roundtable, we had 2 or 3 different versions of the CEO Roundtable. We realized they weren't aligned with each other, so we stopped that and we're reforming. I'm not sure that we'll continue to do it in the form of a roundtable, but instead look for a series of forums that would be useful for our CEOs rather than having them meet on a regular basis, because we've got so many different types of industry needs here. Enhanced marketing. All 6 of our targeted industry snapshots are complete. The Ready Sites and Target Industry webpage has been redesigned and initiated, and as you saw, some of the Ready Sites videos are complete already. Smart Start, we've transitioned fully into our East Pasco location at the Stallings Center. If you haven't been there, you'll see that there's a real nice synergy between ourselves and the Young Entrepreneurs students, as well as the University of Florida and 4-H and some of the other groups that are out there. We've got a new hire for West Pasco, our incubator over at the Trouble Creek and 19 location, Jennifer Ziegler. Jennifer's been in economic development for well over 10 years, comes to us most recently from the Jacksonville area, and is handling our incubator on the west side, which is a true entrepreneur center. And the pipeline. So the Pasco pipeline, we will have an official launch very soon, renaming that to Pasco Workforce Connect. And again, this is the program that aligns all those different workforce training programs with the needs of our business community. There is a website that will be unveiled and launched at that time. We did hold our first advisory committee for the group in June 5th, and we held one of 2 so far of our Pasco 50. So Pasco 50 is where we bring in our largest businesses and their HR people to understand what their needs are. The program was so large and successful last year that we actually split it into 2 parts, one on each side of the county. We held our first back in July, and the next one, actually, both of them have been held now, sorry, since this is printed. And I think I will stop there. You have the rest of the details in your packet as far as the individual metric items, but to see if you all have any questions.
Don't have any questions. Fantastic report. So, any,
Chairman, if I could just say, it's been an honor to sit on the board, with Dan and myself and every month and see how engaged everyone is, the stakeholders, some that aren't in, some that do business in Pasco, some that do business more in other counties, but just how the change I've seen since I've been here has been unbelievable. Just the partnership, it's not the EDC out here and at the county, it's together, being involved with the strategic plan and all those things, because we're able to do more together. And so I just want to say thank you for your leadership. And again, it's neat to sit in those meetings where maybe I didn't always see everyone engaged, or everybody's bright-eyed at 8 a.m., ready to go, taking in the information, having great ideas. And so I just thank you. And again, the updates are moving in the right direction, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mariano?
Mr. Cronin, I'll tell you, from when you first considered Pasco County, and everyone on that committee that was on the selection committee was saying, we've got this guy, he's worth the wait, and we waited probably an extra 30, 60 days, whatever it was, and the delivery that you've done from the moment you stepped in there has just been amazing. I mean, we talk about being a premier county, and you've just elevated our game tremendously. That video you just showed was like phenomenal. The performance that you go over and over again is just incredible. So I greatly appreciate you being here, and thank you for all your work you're doing.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you for each and every one of you in terms of how we work together and supporting our local business opportunities. All of you are always there when we need you, and I know the businesses now come to you, you come to us when they need help. I see a really wonderful partnership, and like I said before, we're not done yet.
Yeah, you will. I'd like to see a little show also on Lacucci area when we get started there, so be great.
Pardon me?
For Lacucci?
Yes.
We got new business coming and things that are going on. I think something like that would be great for that area too.
Yeah. So Commissioner Oakley, Chairman Oakley had mentioned the projects that we have up in the Lacucci area, which are has been an area that was really challenged for all of us to try to find the right fit up there. And I think we got it this time. And we've got some people that will actually be local jobs for people that live there, which is most important.
And workforce housing that also follow those
right.
jobs. So it'll be real good. It's revitalizing an area that's the mill shut down 60 years ago, so that town community will come back to life there for that. So, and a school is affected too.
That's right.
So it's great.
Chairman,
stuff.
just one more thing while I'm thinking about it. So, I sit on the board for the entrepreneurship West Pasco, And it was neat to go through the graduation of folks, I want to say, 9 months ago, maybe it was not that long ago, but to listen to their pitches on their business plans and what they learned from the team then. And then I actually had one of them reach out to me that's going through permitting to open up their own restaurant. And it was just neat to see them go from having this dream of doing mini donuts to now seeing it actually come to reality. And they're moving forward. Everything's approved, so the restaurant should be opening here soon. It's just, again, it's neat to, because I was there to hear them talk about it, and they don't all come to fruition, but it was really cool. Thanks to your team helping them get ready to run their own business, they're doing it, so it's pretty awesome.
Obviously, it's a fun part of what we do.
Yes,
That's right.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right,
Okay,
guys.
thank you.
Thank you again.
Yes, sir. All right, I have a time certain, 11 o'clock for R2, and it is a little after 11, so.
Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Sutton comes forward, I'd just like to say the West Pasco Habitat for Humanity had a great project that the board supported tremendously by putting a loan together to buy all that property out in Leisure Lane in Van Buren. And it's been great to see everything coming down every step of the way. The potential of trying to figure out how we're going to make all this happen kind of just led with Cobus Applegren getting ready to retire and bringing the idea to go to a merger. And I'll tell you, we had a meeting board meeting last night, and Mike Sutton is going to is a tremendous leader for Pinellas County now for West Pasco Habitat for Humanity as well. And I'm just excited about what this gentleman does, how he runs the meeting, how he brings people together, how he helps raise money and create awareness. So I'm really excited about the future with Habitat coming forward, and with your leadership, I think we're going to create some great things. So thank you for coming forward to kind of give us an update. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Mariano, and good morning, Commissioners. Happy birthday, Commissioner Wells. Thank you. Wanted to thank you all for having me here today and being able to address the commission and talk a little bit about Habitat for Humanity, kind of on the western side of the county, and some of our great plans and where we are as an organization. As Commissioner Mariano mentioned, whoops, jumping ahead here already. Can I go back? There we go. So back on March the 1st of this year, Habitat for Humanity of Pinellas County and Habitat for Humanity here in West Pasco merged organizations together. Our boards went from 22 in Pinellas, 15 in Pasco, to a board of about 35. So that's been a fun process to manage such a large board. But through some attrition, we've seen that number get down to about 28. We've also merged both staffs, and so I'm really proud of the 75 individuals who call Habitat for Humanity their work home. I've brought a couple of our leadership team members with me here today. Candy Hagler is our Chief Program Officer. Jake Peterson is our Chief Operations Officer, and Patty Sutton, no relation to me, is our Vice President of Development. These three individuals are on the ground here on a daily basis in Pasco County, and we're proud of the work that they do on a regular basis. The organizations came together really under the premise of just one simple goal, and that is how we serve more families in our community. I don't think that there's any debate that we are in an affordable housing crisis, not only in our community, but throughout the state and throughout the nation. And both board of directors kept that at the forefront of every conversation that we had. And we said, if both organizations are able to come together and we're able to leverage the resources from both, we're able to impact our community at a much deeper level, and we're able to serve more families. And so that's been the ultimate goal this whole time. A couple of misconceptions about Habitat, besides the fact that everyone thinks Jimmy Carter's our CEO. Habitat for Humanity is not a handout. It's a hand up. So a lot of folks believe that Habitat for Humanity builds homes and gives them away in the community, and that is not the case at all. A typical homeowner that partners with Habitat takes about 12 to 18 months to get through the program, and they come to us and are accepted into the program based on three criteria. Number one, they have to show a need for a housing situation. So they're coming to us from a dilapidated housing structure. Maybe they're paying too much money in rent, or it's an overcrowded housing situation. They have to show a willingness to partner with Habitat, and what we mean by that is they go through a series of 20 homebuyer education classes. And these homebuyer education classes help them become more self-sufficient for the long term. And they also, in addition to the 20 homebuyer education classes, they're putting in 350 to 450 sweat equity hours working on our Habitat work sites, building their home and the home of others. And they also have to show an ability to pay. So again, back to the comment about this is not a giveaway program, our homeowners purchase the home from Habitat. It's a zero interest mortgage over the course of 30 years. The zero interest component keeps it affordable for the duration of the mortgage, and those mortgage payments go back into building future Habitat homeowners or homes. So again, at the completion of the program, the homeowner receives a zero interest mortgage for 30 to 40 years. We sell the home at zero profit. They're contributing to the tax base from day one. We're proud that our homeowners between Pinellas and Pasco over the last 12 months contributed more than $750,000 to the tax base. And we see that only growing as we serve more families. A typical Habitat homeowner, and this is an example of one that was just approved into our program. This kind of gives you an idea of the typical family that we would serve. So we just accepted a 3-member household into our program. They make a little bit less than $30,000 a year, so we consider ourselves an organization that serves the working poor. They make 51% of the area median income here in Pasco County, and they pay $1,150 a month towards rent. Now that's 47% of their monthly income. So a family like this, it would be very tough for them to get ahead. It's very hard for them to save towards the future. It's very hard for them if they fall on hard times. Or right now, what we see are families that it's the beginning of the school year. And so it's tough on them as they get their kids ready for school to be able to buy all the supplies and clothing they need when they're paying 47% of their monthly income towards rent. But with the Habitat home, we are able to drop their monthly expenditure towards rent down to 49%, and they're purchasing that house. So they're building equity in the future of their family. A project that you all are very familiar with, and we cannot thank the County Commission enough for the investment that you've made in Habitat in West Pasco County, because without that investment, we would not have been able to get as far as we have with the Town and Country Villas project. Now, as far as we have got, there's a long way to go, but we are excited about the work that has taken place so far. There's 110 lots that's comprised of the Town and Country's Villa project that really represents Leisure Lane and Van Duren. As you all know, this has been one of the most dilapidated areas of the county historically over the years. The property values on this over these 2 blocks range anywhere from $2,500 to $65,000. Many of the home sites are occupied by a homeless population. As we've purchased property in this neighborhood, we now own over 40 parcels. We have torn down close to 25 former mobile homes. We have seen anything you could imagine in this neighborhood, including as we removed a couple mobile homes, we actually found some bodies. And so this has been a pretty eye-opening experience for Habitat as we've gone in and removed some of the crime and some of the ongoing challenges we've seen. There is a part of Leisure Lane that continues to be a large focus for drug activity and prostitution, and we're working with the county sheriff on continuing to try to clean up that area. Our goal with Town and Country's, the Town and Country project is to build single-family homes. These new energy-efficient, affordable homes will range in value anywhere from $100,000 to $125,000. We just completed the very first home, and we have 4 in the permitting office with the county as we speak. We'll build anywhere from 2 and 3 bedroom homes. And we're starting on the south side of the property, and our plan is to move north over the course of the next few years. We are able to build on the first 8 parcels that we own, but then the work will stop for a while we work with the county as well as the city of Newport Richey on funding to put in the infrastructure. As you know, this property is in the floodplain. Each home is required to be built 5 feet above the grade of the road to remain out of the floodplain, and so that we can keep the insurance component affordable for the homeowners. In addition to that, we only have, in certain parts of the property, we only have about 1 foot to 2 feet to work with from the top of the road down to the water basin. So it's presenting some challenges, but we know that once the infrastructure is put in and once we're able to get to a good place, that we'll start rocking and rolling with the construction of the homes here. The other component of what we are doing in Town and Country Villas is we're actually partnering with the homesteaded properties to provide some neighborhood revitalization efforts. So we are looking to do some work to the current homeowners that are in there, and there's not many. There's only about 8 to 10 that actually are homesteaded properties. But we will look to continue to improve that community over the course of the next few years. As I mentioned, we did complete the very first home, and we have 4 more that will go to, or that are in permitting. We own 44 home sites. We have stopped purchasing additional home sites, although we can purchase about 20 to 25 more until we really get the infrastructure component worked out. Because right now that's a challenge of where we're going to come up with that 1.5 million to fund that.
Mike, could you stop just for a second?
Yeah.
You could buy 20 more homes down there?
Yeah, there's about 20 to 25 that we've talked to the homeowners, we've engaged with them, and we've just kind of put them on hold at this point.
Okay. I think that's going to be something for down the road, really take a close look at. So I'll meet with you later on in that.
Awesome. Sounds good.
I knew Cobus had started working on it, but I'm glad you carried it forward that far.
Yeah, and it's been a little bit of a challenge in terms of whether we move forward with purchasing those lots or not. And really, until we have the infrastructure component worked out, I've kind of held our staff on purchasing any more property there. We also have a goal to obviously improve the streets as part of the infrastructure upgrades and open Leisure Lane at Cross Bayou. Right now, it's closed off, and we in dealing with the county sheriff, we have found that it's presented quite the challenge when they're trying to reduce crime in that area. They can't get through. So folks that are on foot, they're running from the police, and it presents quite a challenge. The other thing we're doing in the community is we're notifying every homeowner, whether they're a rental person or whether they're homesteaded there, about the Home Habitat program, and we're encouraging them to apply to the program. And we hope that some of those folks will be able to transition into a much more healthier home through the Habitat program. One of the homes that we're in permitting right now is actually a situation where a gentleman's been renting on Van Duren, and we'll move into a Habitat home, and then we will raise that mobile home that he's living in. So again, on behalf of Habitat, I want to thank you all for your investment that you've made so far in this project. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mariano?
When you talk about the infrastructure in place, I don't know if the board's fully aware of what's going on as far as Leisure Lane goes, but the first 6 homes pretty much coming up there, there's sewer lines in place. The city wanted, I think it was a total of $300,000 in impact fees into their fund, which I don't think we should have happen. The county's got capacity, and I know we're working on Lindrick, et cetera, so I know it's something I think it should be a big part of the dialogue coming up as far as what's the best thing to do out there. But other areas, or let's say Pinellas County, they actually use CDBG funding to help fund some of these infrastructure parts of your projects, or some type of contribution. Could you talk about what Pinellas maybe does to use CDBG funding to try to help along?
Sure. We just broke ground on a 75-lot subdivision in Pinellas Park, and through the partnership with the city of Pinellas Park, they've provided a waive on impact fees up to $3,500 per house. What that does is allow us to ensure that we can keep the home affordable. right now, the homes that we're building in Town and Country Villas, and this is a concern for our board of directors, the cost of the home is exceeding what the appraisal is coming in on the houses. And so to keep it affordable, we have to figure out the subsidy component of it. So there is an opportunity there for impact fees, maybe a reduction in impact fees. CDBG funds are typically used for infrastructure upgrades, and so this project is one that would be prime for that. And we would welcome the opportunity to partner with the county in that way. U.S. Water has quoted us about a $1.5 million project fee to put the infrastructure in. It would take probably a good year to get that done. So our plan would be to kind of transition our focus after these first few homes are done to other parts of the county to build. And so you all know, with the merger, our board is committed to build 10 new homes in Pasco County this year, 60 in Pinellas. And that growth, we're going from building 1 or 2 homes a year in West Pasco County immediately up to 10. And we see the future, we can do so much more if we can get this project off the ground.
Okay. Question, Mr.
Mr. Moore?
So I'm going to ask you the same question I ask all charitable organizations, sure. Even ones that I sit on the board on. So talk to me a little bit about your fundraising activities. Talk to me about how much you raised last year as an organization. Talk to me about what your plan is for the future to raise funds, because I always go back to the case of, you know, when we have a private charitable organization, I mean, their goal should always be to be self-sustaining.
Sure.
Always. The last resort should always be to come to government for assistance when you're a charitable organization. If not, then we just stick with our housing authority and help them raise money.
Sure.
Okay. So again, same question about I asked the United Way, yep. I asked organizations on the CARE board, I sit on the East Pasco Habitat board. Sure. Same questions I ask everybody else. So maybe if you can fill me in a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're a $20 million organization, the combined organization.
Merger, okay.
And 98% of those funds that we raise throughout the year are coming from the private industry, individuals, businesses, corporations, family foundations. We've received little support from the municipalities we partner with, where we really turn to the counties and the municipalities in which we build are to help us with infrastructure costs. Things that I always like to say that I can go find a private donor to help build a Habitat home. They may put their money on that, but it typically takes a municipality to help us to fund the sewer pipes and that kind of thing. And so less than 2% of our overall budget will come from municipalities. And again, it's typically for infrastructure upgrades or in some cases to help offset the purchase of land.
So you, in your office, you have somebody that, or multiple people that spend their days raising funds?
Yeah, we have a
Full-time
fundraising team.
Okay.
Patty Sutton is part of that. We have a fundraising team of 6 that they put on our gala, our golf tournament, and are the ones really in the community building the relationships and raising funds for our organization.
So what type of fundraisers do you have planned in Pasco County?
So we just recently moved our golf tournament up to Innisbrook from St. Pete as a way to kind of be more centrally located between the two counties. Patty is working on a fundraising event that we will do sometime in the spring. I think we're targeting February. And it'll be a fundraising breakfast with the idea of exposing people to the work that we do, encouraging their support and showing them where their investment goes. And so as we move forward with this merger and really continue to identify ways to engage the community, we'll look at new opportunities to do that.
All right. I think we have a meeting at lunchtime, don't
We
we?
do, yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk more. Thanks.
Okay, awesome.
Quick thing, Mike, if you would talk about Raymond James
Yeah.
and how they're helping fund as well?
Yeah, so we're fortunate at Habitat that we have the opportunity to leverage the mortgages that we underwrite with some banking partners. And so these banks, per federal government guidelines, are required to underwrite low-income lending. And one of the easier low-risk ways of them doing that is to partner with an organization like Habitat. So Raymond James Bank, as well as a number of other banks, make an investment in our organization helping us to leverage our mortgage portfolio to basically fast forward the construction of homes and to build more homes. So 5 years ago, when I started as the CEO of Habitat, we were building on average about 20 homes a year. And the last 3 years, we've exceeded 60 homes each year. And so our plan is to continue to try to figure out ways to build more homes in our community. And we know that there's a huge need. If we're able to partner with the county and our local municipalities and just the general public, we know we're able to do that. Other questions?
No? I'm good. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you again for your time.
comments. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Much. Thanks. We'll move on to R3.
Good morning, Mark Bellis, Performance Management, and I am here to happily share the results of our 2019 citizen surveys. This is what we call our voice of the customer. For quite a few years now, we have engaged an external company to perform the National Community Survey. It's a scientifically valid instrument. They use a sampling, in this case 1,600, that are distributed across the county based on zip codes and on population density to try to get a good cross-section and a good result. Again, that's part of what makes it a scientifically valid sample. This year we had an 18% response rate, which is one of the lowest we've had, but still gives us a 95% confidence interval from the survey standpoint. It also allows us to compare ourselves to communities across the country. Now, in addition to this, there we go. Now we got it. Okay. Let me back up on it. Looks like it jumped. Can you go back one, Nicole, for me? Yep. Yep. Okay. Yep, we're fine now. Okay, good. So the distribution on this map you can see based on district for the surveys themselves, and then you can see the percentage of response based on 100% of the surveys. So really quite even, and based on the population density and distribution, it's a good sample for us. Concurrently, we do an open community survey that uses the same questions as the NCS. We've done this since 2009. We do it primarily for comparisons. It is not a scientifically valid instrument, but we find the correlations between the two to be very, very close. This year we had 748 responses. Again, fairly low in comparison to prior years, but what you find a lot of times is with opt-in instruments, people tend to jump on it when they have something that they want to tell you needs to be fixed. A lot of times if they say everything's fine, they say I don't need to respond to it because I'm okay with things. So a little bit different there. We use the information, as you know, in our last planning cycle for the strategic plan. We'll use it again this year. Between the information we get in 19, the information we'll get again in 20. We'll bring that back to you as part of our environmental scan when we redo our strategic plan. What they do across the country, though, is they look at really 8 facets of what they call livable communities, and that includes safety, mobility, the natural environment, the built environment, the economy, recreation and wellness, education and enrichment, and community engagement. And they look at all the data and how those particular data points impact these 8 areas. Then they compare it across the country to the other cities and municipalities that did the survey. So if you look at the different colors there, the darker color means that our ratings were similar to other communities. The lighter rating and mobility said that we were lower, and we'll dig into this a little bit. The 3 stars there show you that in our particular survey for our folks, the 3 most important areas were safety, mobility, and the economy. And I'm going to drill you down a little bit on the analysis of this to get a better idea of what we're looking at. Across the board, 10,000-foot view. Most of the ratings from last year or this year are similar to last year. Not a lot of movement. What we did see is some significant downward movement in the mobility piece. So I'm going to drill you down a little bit further on that too. When you look at the overall quality of life in Pasco County, and this actually, what you're looking at is a comparison of the National Community Survey, which is the blue lines or the darker lines, and the lighter lines or the yellow lines are the opt-in survey. You can see the correlation is fairly close between them. We've been hovering around the benchmark nationally for quite a bit, but there is lately, from about 2017, a little bit of a bumping trend moving up, which is good to see. The one that's real exciting is this one. This is the overall quality of services that we provide in Pasco County, and these are either excellent or good. We have been trying to bump this number for quite some time. We are now actually above the national benchmark at 67%. Our goal in the strategic plan is 70%. We believe that in the next year, we're going to be able to do that. So this is the highest rating we have ever had since we've been doing this in 2009 in Pasco County. So we feel very, very good about the quality of services that we're providing and the understanding that people outside these walls hear and understand that. We also ask a question each year, outside of law enforcement, fire rescue, and emergency medical services, what do you consider to be the most important services that we in Pasco government provide? And as we've seen in most years, road maintenance is always number one. Code enforcement is also toward the top. In the last few years, they've been 1 and 2. So these are what the citizens consider to be the most important services outside of course, the most critical. And when we look at the quality of those particular services, very similar to what they were last year, a little bit of a bump in most of them. So we're moving the needle on these, but we keep an eye on that quality. So let's start again, back up 10,000-foot view. If we consider that mobility was actually the #1 issue in the survey this year, with safety right behind that and then the economy behind that, let's drill that down a little bit more, because in addition to the data, we get anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 written comments, which starts to give you indicators of the story behind the data that you're seeing. So I'll show you how that drilled down, how that shook out here. When we look at the impact on the overall quality of life, safety is always at the very top, and these are the two dimensions, safe neighborhoods and safe and uncongested roadways are #1 and #2 answers to that question. They typically are. And you can see that the folks who took the surveys consider these two to be essential, or at the very least, very important. So these are two things that we know need to happen. If you look at the box below that, that is the quality ratings of the services that we provide and that are provided with our partners here in the county. Again, these ratings are fairly similar to what we saw in 2018. Not a whole lot of movement there. When we look at the next one, the economy, very encouraging on this, because you'll see that the trends on all of the questions, all the dimensions here, are trending up. That's very good news in Pasco County. I find it interesting because usually employment opportunities and then Pasco as a place to work has always been at the very lowest, but you can see that we are now trending upwards from 2014. So that's good news. That means that we're moving in the right direction. A few things, even though they fell a little bit from last year, I wouldn't worry about that. I would consider more, because when you think of, say, cost of living, for example, most of the comments around that were around affordable housing and the instability of certain decisions that are being made at a higher level, the federal level. Those are some comments around that. So people are a little bit skittish right now, but if you look at the trends, it's all very, very positive. So looking then at the mobility, a little bit different story here. Again, some good upward trends. When you're looking at transit, you're looking at, in fact, bus travel actually had the highest increase from last year. So the folks that are using PCPT like it, so that's a good thing. That number doesn't count the people that don't use it, so that's a good thing. Again, good trends upward. What we did see, though, is some concerns. There's some downward trends here. Ease of car travel, specifically, traffic flow, traffic enforcement. Those are some concerns for us because these have been downward trends. So, of course, when you dig into that, you try to see, all right, what are we doing? Are we addressing those things? And are we addressing them with our partners? So we're going to share that here in just a second, a little bit more. This is that overall impact slide that shows what folks believe has the most impact on their quality of life. Again, with safe neighborhoods, safe uncongested roadways, those type of things, good drainage, no flooding. Again, if you look at the things that we're doing today, you look at the things that are in our 2020 business plan coming up, we really are focused on a lot of this. So if we look at the conclusions of the survey itself, most things similar to last year. A few went up, a few went down. The idea that 72% of our residents rated the county as an excellent or good place to live is 5% higher than it was last year. Good indicators. We want to see that. 2/3 gave excellent or good ratings to the overall quality services we provide, and 2/3 were very happy with our customer service. So, what are the opportunities for improvement that we take from this?
Can I jump in? I hate to do this.
Yes, please
Mr. Chairman, real quick.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Can you back up a little bit?
Yep.
That last slide?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to make an assumption.
Yes.
Okay? You tell me if you think my assumption is wrong.
Perfect.
So we look at 72%, it's great, it's up 5%. Typically, though, when people do outreach of some type, they typically have a complaint of some sort.
Yes.
Right? So at the same time, my overall feeling is, it's great to see it go up 5 points, but I think if you were to take 10 people on the street and survey them, that would be even higher, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes, so you are correct. And in fact, one of the reasons that we do the national community survey is that goes to a random sampling, not an opt-in where they have to do it, but you have a better chance of getting it in front of someone that thinks we're doing a pretty darn good job.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that. Now, I will say that if you look at all of the data across years, and I'll share a couple things here that are really exciting, part of it too is the fact that we're doing really good work, but not always telling our story. People
Yeah.
don't always know what we're doing.
We and I talked
And
about
so
that.
as we get better at that, it becomes more visible.
Right.
And then people say, oh, I didn't know they did that. I see them fixing that. I see that going on. So that's all part of the whole program.
Right, good point.
So, yeah, so
Thank
you're
you.
exactly right on that. All right, so our opportunities for improvement. When we look at mobility, the biggest concerns that we got out of this particular survey were issues of growth, perhaps outpacing infrastructure, so roads, schools, things like that. That was one major concern. The other was traffic congestion, light timing. I tell you, the comments about light timing are not as many as they were last year, and I run Wesley Chapel to this building twice a day, and I think the light timing is a whole lot better than it's ever been. So a lot of positive stuff there.
Sorry, can I ask another question, Mr. Chairman?
All right, Mr. Moore.
Well, you saw something on this page, right, that I seem to like to talk about sometimes. It says rapid growth, multifamily housing. There's a concern, there's too much multifamily housing?
Yes, those were
cool.
what the comments
Thank you,
pointed
that's all I needed to ask. Point proven. The citizens agree with me.
They are pointing at that as being part of the
Thank
congestion
you.
problem. So, yes. Yep. So, and I will say this too, Commissioner, that if that isn't causing an issue, it's probably up to us to communicate that as a fact. So we
It is,
need to see.
I would agree
so,
with them.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Chairman? Just,
Mr. Morale?
and touching on that, just one, meeting with Chase from the Sheriff's Department yesterday, we talked about rental housing compared to home ownership. And the number of calls for a home ownership house are so much lower than our rental community.
Correct.
Very good point too, because one of the biggest issues around the economy was the whole affordable housing, and we heard that today. So that was another big issue there. When we look at the safety component, although there were still comments about issues on the west, they were far less than we've seen in prior years. So that goes to the fact that between the sheriff's office, our code enforcement people, a lot of the community, a lot of the efforts going on collectively that we're making a difference on this side of the county. What did increase significantly this year was a concern over unsafe driving speeds, particularly on the interstates. So we know that the sheriff's office, FHP has initiatives in place that they are countering this, and we invited them today to come and talk to us for a few minutes about what some of those are. So if you guys would like to come up, please.
I knew they had to be here for some reason.
Absolutely.
We're happy to see them, we just don't see them enough.
Right.
In here. You see them out on the road.
That's where they're supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
They do a good job. They've gotten a lot busier in Pasco County than they have been in the past.
Yes, we have. I can tell you that FHP.
Step up to the
FHP, we're doing.
Can you give your name for the record?
Sergeant Steve Gaskins, Highway Patrol. I'm the Public Affairs Officer for Troop C. We cover 7 counties, our troop. I've got with me Lieutenant Glennie. She's your sub-district commander for Pasco County itself. So she's in charge of the 24 troopers we have here in Pasco County working directly for the residents here. We have 1 full-time hit-and-run investigator. We've had issues with our hit-and-run numbers rising throughout the state, here in Pasco County as well. Looking at 100,000 of those across the state. So we actually have programs in place to follow up on those because that's one of our big concerns from your residents. Traffic homicide program, we've had 55 fatalities in the county this year alone so far. We've got a dozen corporals that investigate those crashes that cover 4 counties total. I, as a public information officer, I receive a huge number of complaints from your local residents about traffic issues, whether it be on the interstate or on the local roads. Lieutenant Glennie, I know because she and I communicate all the time, she gets those same kind of complaints. We try to direct our troopers to those areas to deal with the complaints as best we can. But as you can imagine, you guys, in your county, you have a 3% growth rate across the state. We're looking at 21 million residents that live in Florida. 126 million visitors came to Florida last year alone. So we're talking some big numbers, and with only 1,900 troopers across the entire state, we're kind of stretched. So I wish I could tell you that I had more troopers here. I'd love to see 1,000 troopers across the state added to our ranks. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I've heard a lot of people asking you guys for stuff all morning long for dredging and everything else and such, okay? The only thing I could ask you for your continued support for your highway patrol, because we work 85% of your crashes here across this county. And I think so far this year we had roughly 5,000 crashes so far. We've worked 85% of them with our 24 troopers. I'd love to see those numbers double. So with whatever power you guys have, if you could talk to the state lawmakers, because that's who funds us, to continue to give us the resources that we can do to get those numbers, lower crash or response times of crashes. That's one of our big issues, getting to people who need help as quickly as possible. The more people we have, the quicker we can respond. And the other thing too, the more officers that we have, we can also do that proactive activity to get out there and on US 19 and 41 and the other roads that you see coming, 301, the other roads that we commonly deal with, that we get complaints on. If we had those officers, we could do more proactive activity to stem the tide of those crashes, the numbers increasing as best we could. So that's where you guys could help us if I can ask for anything. A lot of other counties, because I've been on for 24 years and I've worked in everywhere from Broward to Tallahassee, throughout the Panhandle area. A lot of other counties actually have supported the Highway Patrol by buying some equipment. And the only thing I would ask you is we could use probably about a dozen traffic lasers. Those traffic lasers are the ones that give us the very specific singular clock on a vehicle, and my Pasco guys could really use that equipment, and that would help with speed control, speed enforcement, because speeding is one of the huge complaints that I get all the time from residents across the county. So, any questions of me?
So we thank you for your presence in our county, and we certainly appreciate everything you do. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Moore.
And I'm sorry, how many troopers did you say you have in Pasco County now?
24.
24. And you feel you need how many, honestly?
If I had a wish list, I would say 50.
Yeah, because I understand where you're coming from if you get especially a smaller, nothing small, I should say, but if it's a fender bender and no injuries, you're off having to take care of something that is, let's be honest, more important, right? People are going to have to wait, and I hear that from citizens, on a pretty consistent basis, and I try to explain to them. But of course, if there's a major accident, there's injuries, they need to be there. Obviously, at the same time, you need to be patrolling, right? So, I'm only going to assume that you have somebody in-house in government affairs that is constantly lobbying our legislators.
Yes, sir.
Correct, okay.
In Tallahassee, yes, sir.
In Tallahassee, yeah. So I'd love to maybe, before you leave, Andy's my legislative aide behind you, maybe give your information to him, because I'd like to have that conversation, because one of the most important things, I know some of us came on the board here, is public safety for the county, and working with the sheriff's office to make sure they obviously have the deputies they need to keep us safe and secure, but also to patrol the area. So considering Pasco County has so many state roads, I mean, we're very unique here compared to the majority of counties across the state. Because you mentioned 54, 52, 41, 301, 19, State Road 56. They're all state roads. So our major thoroughfares across Pasco County are state roads, which obviously falls under.
I transferred down from Tallahassee in 2008.
Yeah.
And I initially bought a house here in Pasco County. So I lived here, I lived in Pasco for the first 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So I was a resident here, plus worked the area, and even though I'm technically assigned to, to Tampa, for me, for example, I cover all 7 counties. So I'll have the same conversation over in Polk County, in a couple weeks probably.
Right.
So we're state, we cover different regions.
Right.
But one of the things, and we've been very blessed by our state lawmakers in the last couple of years. We've gotten, I think, we got it, last year was a 10% pay raise. We got 1 or 2 5% raises, and then this year was like a 3% raise. Boosting those salaries because the salaries of the troopers have been historically low compared to other agencies.
Yeah, I'm familiar, yeah.
In the last 10 years alone, we're looking at a 50% turnover in troopers.
Helps you recruit now, though.
And so it's difficult for us to recruit and retain qualified talent.
Right.
And so, and before it was always taboo to talk to anybody in government about, especially being the communications guy, I was told, staffing, just leave that to Tallahassee to cover. And now we're trying to get recruitment out there to get qualified people. But there's frankly, the salaries are what they are, and then the attitude towards law enforcement nowadays that you see in the news that has a major impact on people's decision. Young guys and girls coming out of college that would maybe have sought a career in law enforcement, they're going elsewhere.
That's too bad.
I don't blame them. I get it, but it's been very challenging, not just for us, but also for all agencies to recruit and retain qualified talent. Since we're your state troopers, that's where you guys again can come in talking to your local legislators and so forth. Because like our troop commander, part of his job. He's the guy in charge of all 200 troopers we have in Troop C here. He actually goes around and talks to the state lawmakers. It's part of his job description is to talk to guys to keep them informed about what's going on as well.
Good.
So,
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, anything we can do to help, because I know we are the fastest growing county in this region, one of the fastest growing in the state, and with all the roads and expansions that we have coming up, and we want to. Pardon me.
2.996, I think it is.
Is that what it is? I don't know, Dan. 2.
I looked it up. So.
Yeah.
That's good.
We'll see what the census
You probably
comes
know
out
that.
with. I think it's even higher than that, to be honest with you.
We've actually had some of the same issues you have with pay. We've had that with our county sheriff's office at the same time, and we reached out to them, and we'd be more than happy to reach out to our legislators in our county to help you in the state level. So,
well, each county is different, just so you know this, because in certain counties like Hillsborough and Pinellas, we have an MOU with the county, and that where they work certain roadways, the county roadways, and we handle the state roads.
Right.
Our main job is always going to be the interstates. That's the number one job, and then the state roads, and then the tertiary roads after that. Pasco is one of the counties, just like Duval and now Orange County as well, where we work everything in unincorporated areas of the county. That's why I'm able to tell you, 85% of the crashes that have happened in your county this year alone, we've worked. So again, those are small numbers of troopers working a large number of crashes, and it's hard for us to then take that same time and go out there and be proactive, which would eliminate some of those crashes and quit the phone calls to your offices probably. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, you certainly appreciate everything y'all do.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Wells?
Real quick, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's something I was going to bring up under old business, but since they're here, and thank you again for everything you both do and your team for our county. One of the issues we've discussed as a board over and over, and it's not getting any better, is the intersections and the debris, glass left in the intersections. So I would like to maybe, first of all, I'd like to look into doing an ordinance, but I know they handle the rotation with the tow companies. Maybe we can sit down and discuss how we could maybe work together to address these things.
That's another complaint that I know we've commonly dealt with, and she actually, because as part of her job as the district commander, she can tell you about, for covering Pasco, she talks to these record companies all the time, because I get those same calls as well.
Yeah, I believe there's probably a few that, anyhow, but maybe we can sit down and work together with the county attorney's office to kind of come up with an ordinance, if the board's okay with me kind of starting that process to where we're able to hold these folks more accountable, and maybe take them off the rotation or fine them, because some intersections are very bad. And again, you've got enough to worry about with the accident and so forth. These folks, again, they're on the rotation, they're getting paid to do this, it should be done 100% of the time. So,
yeah, you're right, our public works ends up having to clean it up.
yes.
And as I've gotten your messages, we have followed up on each one of those. The problem is there is a broad state statute that requires that every tow truck driver or participant in a crash cleans up their own mess. If we call a rotation wrecker out there, which is a certain percentage of the time, that rotation wrecker is responsible for it.
Right.
So I have to pinpoint which crash it's from and did I call the rotation wrecker in order to hold them accountable. Many participants in a crash will call AAA or their own tow companies, or they'll drive the car away themselves. And that's the problem really that we're running into, is who was responsible, who actually came out and took the vehicles out of there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, just if we can have time down the road to discuss it, because it's bad in some intersections, and the main intersections a lot of times, and there's no excuse, and should be a way, even if we've got to figure out what insurance company, who they called. Most time it's going to be a local Pasco company. And again, so if you don't mind, if the board's okay with that, I think we need to look at doing something, because it's not getting any better. We've discussed it since day one. So I figured while you were here, I would ask you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but again, thank you very much. So, and I'll get with Chase. I know Chase has your information, so thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank all you.
Thank you. Chase, you'd like to say something?
Yes, sir. If I could, Chase Daniels, Pasco Sheriff's Office, 8700 Citizens Drive. Again, we'd just like to thank Lieutenant Denny and Sergeant Gaskins for being here today as well. Mark also asked us to speak from a sheriff's office perspective on this, because we also obviously share that responsibility. And first and foremost, Mark, I think it was a previous slide said that 86% of people felt it, a sign of a good community whenever local governments work together. So I think us being here, FHP being here, you guys inviting us to speak here is a sign to that. And, kudos to Dr. Bellis for inviting us in FHP. Obviously, I know that I believe I've heard from everyone's offices about traffic and speeding enforcement. I know that is probably the number one complaint that I believe I probably receive from your office, and that we also receive into our customer service unit. So I just wanted to talk briefly about some of the steps that we have taken, and again, obviously with our partnership with FHP. But we also have lieutenants now assigned in each of our 3 districts. So our county is split up into 3 districts of the sheriff's office. District 1 is essentially anything west of 41, north of Ridge Road. District 2 is anything essentially east of US 41. So that is primarily the whole eastern side of the county. And then District 3 is that southwest corner, south of Ridge Road and west of 41. But in each of those districts, we have lieutenants who are now assigned to attend HOA meetings, CDD meetings, neighborhood group meetings. And obviously, if any of you have meetings you'd like us to attend, please just let me know. We're happy to get someone assigned to those as well. But the role of those lieutenants at those meetings is they are taking and listening to those traffic concerns and other concerns in the area. I know I was at a meeting, I believe, with Commissioner Wells at Longleaf about a year ago, and we actually gathered some pretty good information on drug tips and drug activity going on in the house in the neighborhood. So those type of reach outs are occurring. Those are something we're working on. We also obviously have our speed trailers and also our enforcement action plans. For instance, with school starting last week, we had an enforcement action plan throughout the county at school bus stops throughout Pasco County. I don't know how many of you remember, but there was that viral video a year ago of cars blowing past a stopped school bus on US 19. So we have upped our enforcement on efforts like that, also speed. But again, we continue to work with your offices, within our districts, within the HOAs and the CDDs. We are increasing our radar certified officers. We also have 2 crime prevention deputies. I have Director Nick Caller here in the audience with me as well. He's the Director of Crime Prevention and Community Engagement. So he's got 2 of his guys who are also helping work out traffic enforcement, speed enforcement as well, understanding that those calls can continue coming and keep increasing. So we want to have all hands on deck as much as possible for that. But obviously, anything we can do to help, we continue to ask your offices, please keep sending us that stuff so we can be aware of those areas. But we are happy to help, and again, just appreciate the opportunity to be here today with FHP and talk about it.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr.
Chase?
Mariano?
Chase, if I could.
Come back.
Not done yet.
No, and I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job. I greatly appreciate the relationship we have, that you have with the whole board to kind of communicate with us to what we need to do and how we got to go about. As we talk about homelessness, we've talked about, how safe is it for deputies to walk into areas where they're heavily wooded, et cetera. I'm going to be passing out this ordinance for under committee reports later on. It's Hernando County where they actually get rid of Brazilian peppers, Australian pines, where they make it hard to go into. And they can hide from. So I think that could be a benefit. I think when we met last year, the sheriff mentioned if we had an 8-foot height clearance, there's something that we need to go take a look at doing to make it safer for you guys as you're coming out and around.
Absolutely, and so yes, Commissioner, to your point, Sheriff brought that up, and I know that's something that we would still definitely support and definitely endorse, because the issue becomes, especially on vacant properties, for instance, whenever we may have a trespass agreement or we may be looking to do some work on that property with the owner's permission. What we often find is there is a lot of brush and a lot of overgrowth that prevents us from having easy access into that property, for looking into that property, from being able to see what's going on in that property, and perhaps clearing out some of that overgrowth, whether it be with invasive species, or I know the idea the sheriff mentioned was like an 8-foot clearance, that underbrush, to kind of allow us to see in there and see if there are tents, if there are living arrangements going on there. Absolutely, something like that would most definitely help us out, and something that we would happily support.
Yeah, I think it's something that's going to be real important as we look at this rental ordinance, that we make sure that as we do the registration of these properties, that all the vacant properties have to register.
Yes, sir.
Just so that it makes it easy for you to trespass somebody that shouldn't be living on an open piece of property that needs to move on.
Absolutely, and I know within that proposed ordinance that's going through right now, something that we are going to be asking of every person that registers is to submit a trespassing agreement with us, because we believe that is probably one of our strongest tools to go in there with the property, is because what happens right now, if someone doesn't have a trespass agreement, we then have to go find the owner, we have to make contact with the owner, and frankly, the issues that may have existed on that property are usually have moved on somewhere else before we can go through all those steps. So having that trespass agreement, allowing us to act on behalf of the owner, go in there and address those issues as soon as we see them, absolutely. And that's something that we're really going to be pushing for with that new proposed ordinance, is having those trespassing agreements for all the properties, vacant, rental. Those are really a massive tool for us, not to overuse a term, but it's really a tool in the toolbox for us to go out there and enforce.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chase.
All right, you ready for the good news now?
Yeah, weird.
All right.
Been hearing it.
It is all good news, isn't it? I like
It is.
Yeah.
Can you advance me there, please? It's not
I think
taking.
we have a glitch in this.
Okay.
system today.
We
Oh,
do.
too many. One back. One back.
We can
Perfect,
have
thank you. All right, so strengths. In this last year, the question around the overall appearance of Pasco County, good or excellent, the numbers went up 10%. So that speaks to the efforts that are happening right now between the Sheriff's Office, code enforcement, solid waste, road and bridge, the high return enforcement program, taking down the high profile problems. It's working and people are noticing it. So we should feel very, very good about that. Customer service, when we look at across the organization, if we, and we did look back a little bit to look at trends here, if we measure from 2014 to 2019, the increase is 10%. If we look all the way back to 2009 to 2019, an increase of 17%. So again, we're doing things right, we're making things happen. It's interesting to think if and you've heard some folks talk about how big the county is now, how difficult sometimes it is to serve everybody. If we were a ship, we'd be an aircraft carrier. We're 2,500 employees or team members serving 550,000 customers with 57 different lines of business over 740 square miles. We're big. We're big. And a big boat like that doesn't turn on a dime. It takes time. So we've been at this, and we're getting better and better each year that we do that, and it's starting to show up because people are seeing what we're doing, and they're telling us through these surveys. And that goes to a big piece of what we're doing, a better job of telling our story. Are we where we need to be yet? No, but we're getting better all the time. And the more we tell our story, the more we let people know that the good things we're doing and the impact it has directly on them, the better we do. And this is what it comes down to for me as I look at the board and the organization as a whole. These are the questions around governance. So this is the value of services for the taxes I pay. This is the overall direction that Pasco County is taking. This is the job that Pasco County is doing, welcoming involvement, acting in the best interest of the citizens, being honest, treating citizens fairly. If you look at the comparison from 2014 to 2019, every single one of those dimensions increased by at least 10%. That is huge.
Mr.
That
Chairman?
goes to the job that you're doing directing us, the job that our folks are doing taking care of our citizens. That is huge. Feel good about that.
And I tell you, Commissioner Moore made a really good point about how these numbers may even be higher than that, in the sense of, if you look at the responses, most of them came, I think it was like a higher percentage, like 20-something% came from my district. And that district has always been a lower end as far as responses back. You know, when we did the east, west, and central, the west side was always lower. So when you look at that percentage, it's still responding, but still that strong. It's credit to the board, how I think well it's going, how great our team is doing across the board.
Yeah, definitely.
Well put, and that's exactly correct. The numbers in that area typically are lower. Collectively, it's all coming up. It's good news. It's really good news. So again, feel very good about
Well, I can tell
that.
you right now, the Board of County Commissioners that we have right now, sitting in seats right here in county, we're all reacting to our citizens and looking out for their needs. So there's no doubt about it. We're all doing that.
And they're seeing it.
Yeah.
They're seeing it. That's the great part. That's the great part. So just again, the overarching message is to wrap this up and put a bow on it. Citizens are aware of the big picture. They know what's going on. They're very in tune with it. The more we engage them, the more we communicate what we're doing, how and why, the better the reputation of not only the county, but also the belief in what we're doing. I was going to mention to you real quickly, you want a comparison. We are at 67% of folks being completely satisfied. Federal government here is 39%. So there's an interesting comparison.
Say that again? I'm sorry, what?
39%, yeah, right, yes. Right, so.
Must feel pretty good, huh? A low bar. Locally?
Yeah, that's a low bar all the time there. So the ratings, again, for the services that we're providing are very good, and they continue to go up. As you heard Chase said, the idea of working collaboratively, we're getting better at that. We're working across organizations, both private, public. We're working with the business community. We're getting the citizens involved to be part of the solution. So all of this is starting to come together, and it's starting to work very, very well. So, and we all, as staff, feel very enabled, I guess I would say, with no barriers to do the things that we've always wanted to do. So thank you to Dan and the board for that as well. So our challenge is to continue engaging others and being part of the solution. Our 2021 strategic plan, which we are going into the process, as I mentioned to each of you individually, of revising, is going to reflect where we need to be, not just really in 4 years, but we need to be looking 10, 15 years down the road. What do we need to be setting up now to make sure that we are premier and we continue to be premier well into the future? And you'll see that, and you have been seeing in our 2020 business plan, a lot of very specific initiatives and programs that we're putting in place to address, building on our strengths and addressing the concerns of our citizens. Any questions at that point?
One more thing, Commissioner.
Mr. Moore?
Or Mr. Chairman, thanks. And just ride the coattails, Commissioner Mariano, real quick. Yeah, congratulations to the board. Congratulations to the team. Great things are happening here. They're continuing to happen. I do want to make one statement, I think, on the mobility. And yes, it continues obviously to be a concern for all of us, but I'm going to assume, between next year and then over the next 3 years, we're going to see that increase again. Because if you think about all the road infrastructure projects that are actually currently under construction and that are coming, that's going to improve dramatically. Right. We talk about the diverging diamond that's coming, and obviously that's one of the most miserable places right now, when it comes to sitting in traffic, that how it stacks up off 75 for the people that are going westbound. I drive it on probably almost a daily basis by there because I live close to there. But that's in the process of obviously being fixed. The addition of a new interchange, which will help relieve traffic on multiple interchanges. The widening of 52 that's going on now, the recent extension of 56, the widening of 54 to Zephyr Hills, which obviously we know gets bogged down on a regular basis, that's going to be fixed. So again, I'm going to make that assumption that, within the next, couple years, we're going to see that really spike up.
Yeah.
So again, people being proactive and the things are being accomplished. So, but again, congratulations to the entire team, and actually congratulations to the citizens for wanting to live and continue to live in Pasco County, because it is a great place to live, work, and play, and it's only getting better, and it'll continue to get better. More jobs are coming in the area. Again, the investments that are being made to the infrastructure. You think about the parks and just amazing things that we have going on here. So, it's good things.
I think if you look at it right now, the opening of 56 has already changed the traffic pattern of people.
Huge.
They're using, that's huge, going
We
out
worked
to
on that.
Marsh Bridge Road, going over to 301. Just take it, already, I've heard people talk about there's less traffic over on 54 where they're doing the construction of the widening right now to Marsh Bridge Road. So just that in itself, and then when 52 comes on, and, I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure coming in place that's gonna help this county. Mobility-wise, you gotta see it spike.
And there's, I'm sorry, and I get excited about this. These
Oh, I do
numbers,
too.
But there's, but we,
It's in my
there's a reason why we're the fastest growing county in the region. There's a reason why we're one of the fastest growing counties in the state. There's a reason why, you know, and it's just not, people are just moving to move. They want to come here. They're hearing about Pasco County. I know, and I hear, and listen, I appreciate everybody's comments that come and speak on a regular basis, but when you have people come up here sometimes and said, people are leaving, are you looking at the numbers? Are you looking at the numbers, how many people are moving here on a daily basis? We don't even have enough inventory for the people that want to move here. People are coming here, they're not leaving here.
Mr. Wells?
Chairman, if I could, and, I just want to take a minute, and, I know we talk about it, but, I can remember when I first got elected, and I used to work for the county back in the 90s, and, we talked about it with the troopers, about pay and, appreciating our employees. And I know from day one, my goal as well as the board is to make sure that our folks got the raises they deserved, they needed. And every single year we've done that, not to mention cost of living, COLA raises. The feel out there, the energy out there from our team, from anybody from permitting, I guess everybody understands they work for the residents. We're in customer service business. It's all about economic development. Again, we're permitting. You actually go in there and they use your name, they smile. You can feel the energy with Esther and her team and what they've changed. It's unbelievable from when I first started, and it's not coincidental. It's because, well, first of all, it starts with this board, but our teams are engaged. I hear it from residents that, hey, this utility worker came up and educated me. Those kind of things, quite frankly, didn't happen a lot. From public works to parks to libraries to all 57 different departments, it's unbelievable how we're all working together. We understand who we work for, and that all is the reason we're seeing the success we are, is because each and every employee from the bottom to the top. So I really just wholeheartedly want to thank, from process improvement, we have come an unbelievable way. Employees are actually, wow, we can get things done now. I mean, it's awesome to see us trying to work hard to say yes, where in the past, my opinion was, we worked hard to say, no, we don't want you here, but no, we do. And all these things. So it comes down to our people. And I know the board feels the same way, but we can't say thank you enough to everyone from Dan to the ACAs to all the way down, because without them, we don't have the success. And I truly, truly mean that. So I just want to say thank you.
And thank you for saying that. It means a lot.
Yep,
It means a
thank
lot to us to hear that. It means a lot to us to hear that. So,
Mr. Chairman?
thank you.
Yes, sir.
If I could, and I want to put some kudos out to this board as well. The first big decision we had to make was hiring that gentleman right over there, Mr. Biles. I mean, we had a lot of good things going on. I mean, these plans were working, and a lot of things coming. It takes time, but hiring Mr. Biles, I think, was a great move for us. He showed great leadership every step of the way. You have a discussion with him, you better be on your A game to find out where you're going to be and what you're going to go about, because he's going to debate back with you if he doesn't think it. And he swayed me many times on different things, and I appreciate the professionalism. And what you've done is elevated everybody else. I mean, Mark Bell is probably the finest dressed person on the planet, and you're elevating everyone else's game too. But, Don Rosenthal over there laughing. I mean, Don, you, Esther, Anthony, your whole team up there, as Commissioner Wells said, you guys are doing phenomenal. I mean, we still got work to do. We're still going there, but that drive that you're showing is great. I think the optimism we heard, you heard people come up talking about dredging today. I think we probably got 150 emails now.
I didn't
But
notice.
Didn't notice. But it's all positive stuff that they think we're going to, work with them every step of the way. It wasn't like, get it done, get it done. It's like, we just want you to know, here's how we feel. That communication that we've elevated has been phenomenal. Calling up FDOT yesterday morning at 9 o'clock saying, hey, I want to have you come out here, take a look while we're fresh. We've got these flooding issues along where we think 19's not getting the water to go across. To bring an engineer down that morning, by 11 o'clock, we had put a plan together what we're going to go do. He gives us permission. He's actually going to go do it, clean out a canal that's working 1/3 of effective as it could, up in Beacon Woods near the Act Center and the shed place, getting that cleaned out. And then he's got other suggestions. He's going to take Jasmine Lakes. That right now there's a puddle of water at the bottom of the hill. where it comes in, one just to the north of the car wash, there's nowhere for the water to go. I said, look, the water's pitching down here, let's go clean this out. He tells me next week they're gonna come down there, clean that thing out, work with us so we can actually drain that water in there. Very minimal infrastructure add, and then go take the other water from Scenic Drive, to take that water from Arby's, to get that off the road in Jasmine, pulling it all the way down, just by coming down. So the relationship that we've built, I think, as a county, saying, look, we're trying to get stuff done, I think is radiated across the state. And I want to say, when we look at SunWest Park, the county taking that park over, the people that go out there now, they're just raving about it over and over, how great the place looks, what a great job our team's doing, elevating the game, and it's big stuff. And Commissioner Roque, you talked about the Coochie. I think what we're doing out there is going to be phenomenal every step of the way, and those people are going to really benefit from what's coming up. So between that and the water situation we've taken out in FGA, I will say this, the other boards kicked that thing down the road. We didn't do what we should have done, and this board's making the right moves to go take people that are paying $150 a month for water, and we're going to bring them down to a much better rate coming up. So I think that optimism's there. And this board, I just say, best board I've ever served with. You guys are doing a phenomenal, it's a pleasure to come into work and get stuff done with all of you. I appreciate all of you.
And I hate to do this, I know we're on time. Let me just add one more thing, because, no, it's important, because.
Cutting into your lunch, so.
I don't eat lunch. The guy that doesn't eat lunch and take lunch, so I'm good.
Go ahead.
So,
You're late for a meeting then.
I am late for a meeting. But you mentioned FDOT, and I will tell you, I mean, they are great to work with now, and
Oh, they are.
not trying to throw stones, but I'm telling you, it's kind of night and day from when I first came on here. The current team they have at FDOT is extraordinary. I mean, they are, and without them, a lot of these things wouldn't be able to happen. And they wouldn't come to fruition. Yeah. Secretary Gwynn is remarkable.
Oh, he is.
He's very responsive. He's just, he's a great professional. And, you know, can't say enough about the relationship this county now has with DOT. They're doing remarkable things. So, yes, thanks to them for everything that's happening here, too. Great team.
Great.
Thank you all for your support. We will be premier.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Biles.
Mr. Chair,
working on
just
that. Mr.
a
Biles?
couple of things. One, I want to remind Commissioner Moore that he forgot Ridge Road Extension on his list of transportation capital projects. So
Oh, yeah.
that'll have an impact on the west side, much like the 56 extension had on the east side. So,
That's right.
so that's coming, and as you know, most infrastructure, water, wastewater precedes growth, because you have to have those in order to actually move into a facility. Transportation, on the other hand, typically lags growth, because you typically don't build that until after the growth happens. And so that's where we are with that, and I think we'll see a lot of changes coming the next few years on that. And then, I appreciate all the kudos, but really the congratulations go to the people that aren't in this room. The 2,500 employees that are out there, you know, doing building inspection right now or fixing a water main right now. They're the ones that actually do the work. And, you know, as we say, is the better you treat your employees, the better the employees are going to treat the customer. You take care of employees, employees are going to take care of the customer, and that's what you as a board are doing. That's what we're doing, fall in that direction. So thank you. You got a great team in place.
All right.
We place you at the clerk's office, too, just to throw that out there, since you're sitting, you know.
All right, we're going to adjourn now and reconvene back at 1:30. Good afternoon. I'd like to call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting of August 20th, 2019. I would like to remind everyone present, please silence all electronic devices. We have a time certain, 1:30, for a resolution. And who's that coming from?
So this is for the Pasco Hernando State College baseball team. If anyone from the team is here, if you want to come up to the podium and be recognized.
We'll bring, we'll bring everybody up now. Thanks.
It's a big group. Okay. Are you guys ready? So, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, recognizing the Pasco Hernando State College baseball team, the Bobcats, for their success in the 2019 season. Whereas, led by the first-year head coach Lyndon Coleman, the Pasco Hernando State College Bobcats men's baseball team had a successful 2019 season that resulted in its 8th appearance in the National Junior College Athletic Association Division II Southeast Division playoffs. And whereas the Bobcats won 6 straight elimination games and defeated the #1 seed with a score of 6-1. To win the NJCAA Division II Southeast District Championship. And whereas they gave them the 8th seed in the NJCAA Division II World Series, and they went on to finish in 3rd place in Enid, Oklahoma. They had a total of 35 wins for the season. And whereas the Bobcats had a GPA of 3.16, which put them in the top 50 junior college teams in the country, and their success both on the field and in the classroom has shined a positive light on Pasco County. And whereas PHSC has 3 campuses across Pasco County, the college partners with Pasco County government on work ranging from economic development efforts to cultural activities. And whereas Pasco County's Destination Management Organization recently rebranded as Florida's Sports Coast to highlight both organized team sports, such as PHSC's Intercollegiate Athletics Program and leisure athletic activities in Pasco County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby congratulates the Pasco Hernando State College baseball team, the Bobcats, for their success in the 2019 season. Done and resolved in regular session with a quorum present and voting this 20th day of August.
Move for approval.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed.
Great. Hey, thank you all so much for being here today, and congratulations. It's awesome accomplishment. Besides being district, obviously, champions, they went to the College World Series, so that's strong. Let's give them a round of applause. So, I don't know who's going to speak, but who's going to, Coach, are you speaking, Coleman? Coach? But before you start, so, obviously, congratulations again to everybody. And, Pasco Hernando State College has 3 campuses here in Pasco County. It's exciting times for Pasco Hernando State College, obviously, with the newest campus being the one at Wiregrass. But, baseball is strong here in Pasco County. You guys Willie Mopena, he lives in Pasco County now, which is pretty cool. Won a World Series for the Boston Red Sox. Buddy of mine down the street, Dave Island, if you know Dave Island, he lives in Pasco. Damon Oppenheimer lives in Pasco County, and there's many more, but there's a lot of great players here, and I'm sure many of you have your sights set on possibly a professional career or furthering your college career, so you've got some good people around here. You could probably maybe knock on their door and see if they got a gig for you after you get done with college. But Coach, any words?
I appreciate you guys just having us out, and I'm just happy for the kids and the experience that they had out there at Enid. It was awesome for them to see them and to be able to have that experience to go out there. It's something that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. Not only proud of what these guys did on the field, but the 3.16 GPA, and we've had 2 consecutive years or 10 more guys on our team graduating and 10 more guys moving on to 4-year programs, all the way up to Power 5s like Maryland and High Point and some other schools too. So they're not only winners on the field, they're also winners in the classroom too, and that's most important.
Awesome.
So
that's amazing.
Appreciate
so
everything.
Would you like to, why don't we recognize everybody? You can just maybe
yeah, we can just
everybody's
have
name,
a
if you don't
one-on-one
mind.
and just
Yeah.
come up and say their name,
Obviously,
where they're from.
Yeah, be great.
That'd be great.
I'm Cameron Sywert. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'm Michael Haydak from Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
I'm Andrew Karch from Key West, Florida.
Key West. I was just in the Keys.
Connor Berry from Seminole, Florida.
Okay.
Sean Osceola from Okeechobee, Florida.
I'm Taylor Ward from Manheim, Pennsylvania.
It's a lot warmer down here, isn't it?
Jackson Ross from Lakeland, Florida.
Okay.
Jermaine White from Tampa, Florida.
Very good. And obviously, we have Dr. Beard and.
Let me say again, on behalf of our Board of Trustees and our administrative team, thank this commission, Chairman Oakley and Vice Chair Moore for recognizing these great accomplishments. I also want to give kudos to Mr. Steve Winterland, who was the athletic director from day one of our baseball program. The coach from day one. He coached the likes of the Deion Sanders of the world at FSU with Coach Mike Martin, who just retired for 40 years. Also, Dr. Bob Aid, Vice President of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. But I often tease Steve because it's took him 20-plus years to make a World Series. Coach Coleman did it in 1 year. So really showed him up. But I want to say that PHSC is committed to really fulfilling this dream of being a great sports coast. And it starts with our baseball team and our other 4 programs. We're hoping that at some point in time in the very near future that we will have turf grass on our campus, at our West Campus baseball field. And that's going to hopefully really help us catapult to a whole different level when it gets to sports tourism. So again, thank you for this time.
Thank you all so much. And again, thank you so much for representing the county. It's great to have, obviously a team that went to the World Series here in Pasco County, especially being Florida Sports Coast. As you know, we rebranded recently, and Adam Thomas, you met our director. He used to play professional ball, so he was all right, right? Only on Tuesday, it's good. But what I'd like to do now, if I can invite the board to come down, we'll take a photo, and I have copies of resolutions for everybody, and then I have one in a plaque you can hang in your office, Coach. All right, or athletic director, whoever. Steve, one of you guys. You can fight over, or you can bring the other one. Excellent. Congratulations. So here's enough for everybody to have one and more, and then we have a plaque. So what we'll do. Congratulations. Just for a picture. Very cool. And you guys start practicing tomorrow, I heard. Gonna get some rest. 6 a.m. Coach, you're killing it. 6 a.m. Team at the top. That's really good. Thank you. So why don't we're all gonna come here, we're gonna turn around, we're gonna tighten up a little bit. Yeah, well, let's do them with a plaque, and then we can go up.
Come on, you guys, we're gonna wrap around here.
We're gonna do one with a plaque, and then we'll tighten up. Everybody smiling?
All right.
Melanie back there?
Oh, Melanie, yeah.
Did you just shoot the floor?
That's a fancy camera.
We got another one. Yeah, we can do one in the back too. It's better for you. Okay. Cool. So we'll go in the back real quick if we want to. It might be easier. So let's do that. Coach,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's go back.
Y'all stand
Hold that, and I'll. Yeah.
We're gonna kind of center everyone if we could here right off at the seal, so this will be our center point right here, so if we can fill in here.
The difference is they're all too tall. You're not going to.
They're still taller than we are.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll get in as tight as we
That's
can.
why.
here,
That's
please,
why we did
gentlemen,
one.
so kind of shoulder.
Smarty, I think you're doing.
Thank you.
Got more right there.
More.
Coming.
Guys are gonna go through this at practice tomorrow.
One more.
All right, thinking about you guys.
Congratulations.
All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good luck this season.
Congratulations.
Proud of you all. That's awesome.
All right, we expect to see you guys back here next year too, right?
Okay. Now we will proceed with public hearings, starting with P1, ordinances. Madam Clerk.
Yes, P1 was noticed in Tampa Bay Times on June 10th, 2019.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Item P1 is actually a continuance, a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment. It's a continuance to the October 7th, 2019 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City, and that's PDD 19-1244.
Motion to continue, move to continue?
Yep, I need a motion.
So move.
Second. All right, I got a motion to move to continuance and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. P2.
This was noticed Tampa Bay Times, July 12th, 2019.
Item P2 is an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Section 804, Ecological Corridors, Section 1302.2, Mobility Fees, Section 1302.4, Parks and Recreation Impact Fees, Appendix A definitions, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, providing for severability, inclusion into the Land Development Code, and an effective date. Today is the adoption hearing for this item, so we ask that you accept public comment and you adopt the proposed ordinance by roll call vote.
Okay. Do we have anyone signed up to speak at this?
I do not think we have anyone signed up.
Anyone signed up? Is anyone here to speak to P2?
See no move for approval?
It is a roll call vote.
Second. A motion and a second. All those in favor with roll call vote?
So District 2, Commissioner Mike
Aye.
Moore. District 3, Commissioner Catherine Starkey. District 4, Commissioner Mike Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Ron Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed. P3.
Approved Tampa Bay Times, July 12th, 2019.
Good afternoon, Amy Heiler with Planning and Development. Item P3 is PDD 19-1067, the adoption hearing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment. I will read the ordinance into record. An ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15 and sheet 5, changing from AGR agricultural rural to COM commercial on approximately 2.31 acres of real property located north of Little Lake Road on the west side of Highway 41, providing for a repealer, severability, and effective date. The subject property is located in the South Market area, or Central Market area, north of Little Lake Road on the west side of US Highway 41. And the subject property was previously operating as a hotel prior to the adoption of the comprehensive plan. The surrounding uses are predominantly single-family residential, office, and commercial uses. And with that, the property owner is looking to propose the small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to AGR, from AGR to COM, to allow for the hotel use and bring that back up into compliance. The subject property is zoned C2, General Commercial District, and it was zoned in 1988, which classifies this as a conflicting zoning per our comprehensive plan and land development code. And as you see here, this is the proposed inset with COM as the future land use. And the comprehensive plan is consistent with the following policies and objectives. So with that, we recommend the board find the comprehensive plan amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and adopt by roll call vote. Sorry.
Okay. I
And
don't
I'd be
have
happy to
anyone
answer.
signed up for this item. Is there anyone in the audience want to speak against this item? Seeing no one? Roll call vote.
First move
Can I
for
get a
approval.
motion? Second.
Okay. Okay. District 2, Commissioner Mike Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Catherine Starkey. District 4, Commissioner Mike Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Ron Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed. Okay, this time we have rezoning. Is that when you read?
Yeah, okay. If you'd like me to read the procedures at this point, I
Yes.
will.
All
There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there is no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual, or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation, or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name, address, and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's Land Development Code for rezoning. Madam Clerk, would you swear the folks in that wish to speak?
If you wish to speak on P4 through P11, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
All right.
Do you want to go over the proof of
Sure,
publication?
I'll go over proof of publication. So P4 and P5 were published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 21st, 2019. P6 and P7, Tampa Bay Times, hold on. One says June 20, P6, Tampa Bay Times, June 26, 2019. P7, Tampa Bay Times, July 26, 2019. P8, an affidavit of certified mailouts and postings at the site. P9, Tampa Bay Times, July 25th, 2019, and August 1st, 2019. P10, Tampa Bay Times, August 2nd, 2019. And P11, Tampa Bay Times, July 27th, 2019.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Item P4 is PDD 197416. This is a rezoning in the name of State Road 54 Investment Properties LLC and others for change in zoning from a master plan unit development district to a C2 general commercial district. The applicant on this item has also voluntarily agreed to record a deed restriction prohibiting mini warehouse and storage facilities on the property. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission and the Planning and Development Department.
Okay. This is a public hearing. I have no one signed up for this item. Is there anyone in the audience want to speak against it? Seeing no one, move it to consent, or it remains on consent. P5.
Item P5 is PDD 197419 in the name of Gulf Coast Estates LLC. This is a change in zoning from C2 General Commercial District to C3 Commercial Light Manufacturing District. On this item, the applicant has voluntarily agreed to record a deed restriction prohibiting the use of the property as a indoor gun range and also prohibiting any type of firearms testing on the property. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay. This is a public hearing. I have no one signed up. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak against this item? Seeing no one, let it remain on consent. P6.
Item P6 is PDD 197426 in the name of Edward B. Carlander. I apologize. It's for a rezoning from an AR agricultural residential district to an MF1 multiple family medium density district. Also on this item, the applicant has voluntarily agreed to record a deed restriction limiting the number of units on the property to 81, total of 81 townhome units. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission and from the Planning and Development Department.
I have no one signed up for this item for public hearing. Does anyone in the audience want to speak against this item? Yes, ma'am?
Okay, it looks like you've got several, so I would pull it from consent and come back to it.
All right, we're gonna pull that, what's that, P6? P6 from consent, and we'll make it come after P11. Okay?
On the following item, P7, that's PDD 190921. This is the transmittal hearing on this item. So it is a CPAL 1905, Aiken Mixed Use. It's the transmittal of the proposed large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use maps 2-15 and sheet 21, change from Res 3, residential 3 dwelling units per gross acre, to PD plan development on approximately 25.37 acres. Again, this is we're asking the board today to authorize a transmittal of the proposed comprehensive plan amendment to the Department of Economic Opportunity and other reviewing agencies.
Okay, I have no one signed up for this item. Anyone in the audience want to speak against this item?
Yes, I believe this is the one that you had a request for additional time.
For P7?
Yep.
Okay,
So
I'll move it also.
move
it off
P7
consent.
off of consent as well.
Yeah, move it off consent, and it'll follow P6 after 11. Okay, next.
P8 is CAO 193503. This is a second request for extension of 2007 final order of vested rights determination for Gulf Landings, tracts 40A, 40B, and commercial parcel 3. And the recommendation on this one is for the board to approve.
Okay, I have no one signed up for this item. Does anyone here want to speak against this item? Seeing no one, it remains on consent. P9.
P9 is FAC 19017. It's a petition to vacate ingress and egress easement for Robert and Dolores Burke at 11333 Murcott Way, Land O'Lakes, Florida, and we're requesting the Board of County Commissioners to approve this item.
Okay, I have no one signed up for this item. Is there anyone in this audience want to speak against this item? Seeing no one, let it remain on consent. P10.
P10 is OMB 19-0046. Is a request approval of grant application for the Pasco Sheriff's Office Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Awareness Grant Program Fiscal Year 2019 application CFDA number 16.738, and the recommendation is for the board to approve this.
Okay, I have no one signed up for this item. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak against this item? Seeing no one, let it remain on consent.
That appears to be the end of your consent agenda.
End of consent.
P11
P11?
is
Okay.
also shown as
It is,
consent.
it's not marked.
All right, I will read that. Resolution, B11
Oh,
is...
it is, okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, P11 is UT 19-1037. It's a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, designating that area commonly referred to as Mitchell Ranch South as a street light servicing area for street lighting improvements, and to levy assessments against the property benefited by street lighting improvements in accordance with the Pasco County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 94, Article 2, Sections 94-46 through 94-56, and this comes to you with a recommendation of approval.
Okay. I have no one signed up for this item. Is there anyone in the audience wish to speak against this item? Seeing no one, it remains on consent, and the pleasure of the board.
Move approval of consent agenda.
Second. Motion and a second for move approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. We move back to P6.
Chairman Oakley, I apologize. I want to restate the proof. It was actually July 26, 2019 for this one. It was noted wrong on the paper.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so item P6 is PDD 197426 in the name of Edward B. Carlander. This is a rezoning request from AR Agricultural Residential to MF1 Multiple Family Medium Density District. The location is, this would work, in southwest Pasco County. It's located on the north side of Darlington Road, opposite Santiago Drive, extending northerly to Sunray Drive, and it contains 17.15 acres. Again, this is a rezoning from AR to MF1. The applicant has voluntarily agreed to de-restrict the property to have a total of 81 townhome units. The surrounding area consists of high-density residential development, mobile home park, and residential subdivisions. This is the existing zoning on the property, AR Agricultural Residential. To the south of the property is the Darlington, it's the Buena Vista Manor Mobile Home Subdivision, which is located here. To the west of the property is the New Level Church and the Oak Hill subdivision, which is a high-density residential subdivision. To the north of the property is, of course, Sunray Drive and Pasco-owned property with some property that is submerged. To the east of the property is also a church building and some vacant land. Surrounding land uses are high-density residential. Access to the property is from Darlington Road. Access is not being proposed through Sunray as it is encumbered by wetlands. And this comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission and the Planning and Development Department.
Okay.
Here for any questions you may have.
Any questions? It's a public hearing. We have folks raise their name.
You may want to have the applicant present before the public.
Who's coming?
Just keeping with the procedure.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you. Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, Florida, 34652 for the applicant. I have my team here. We have a transportation engineer. If there's any transportation questions, our project engineer. We'd like to hear what the questions are, and then we'll come back and answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe I saw a few hands raised that want to speak to this item. If you would come forward and line up. You each have, is one person going to speak for all, or are you going to each speak? Name and address for the clerk.
Yes. It's Ralph Watt at 2412 Prestige Drive in Holiday. And I have just...
Excuse me, sir. Have you been sworn?
Sorry.
Have you been sworn? Did you swear in?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. Back when Mr. Darlington was alive, before he passed away, the same proposal was brought forward and was rejected by the county because the traffic on Darlington was in a way in excess of what it was supposed to handle. So he was turned down, or they were turned down for any exit out onto Darlington, and they tried all different kinds there. But the Sunray was put in to alleviate this congestion problem on Darlington, but they're not allowed to go out, put any exits out on Sunray. There is a driveway that goes right out to Sunray, which would take this traffic all off of Darlington and put it over onto Sunray, where they could handle it a lot better. And also the density factor of how they come up with 81 units on, well, what is supposedly 17 acres, but more than 10 acres of that is wetland, which they can't build on. So this means the density is, close to 15 per acre. I'm just wondering what the formula was and if the wetland is included in the density formula. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Name and address for the clerk, and also if you've been sworn.
I have been.
Okay.
Loretta McLaughlin, 2432 Prestige Drive, Holiday, Florida. Okay. I am a resident in Buena Vista Manor Retirement Park, which will be opposite of this development. And I have great concerns about this development going there due to it is dense in forestry, and I was concerned. I know Pasco County has ordinances about cutting down trees, and there's quite a bit there. And from the site design, I do not see that they're retaining most of it. There's just a small area. So that is a great concern for me. Also, I took pictures. This is the normal condition of Darlington Road after any rainstorm. It was never corrected by Pasco County, and the water that you see there drains from our park, the roadways of our park and other roadways off Darlington into this area, which will be abutting the new design that's going to go up. And my concern is this water does eventually drain into the wooded area there. I was told by the attorney and by Pasco County Zoning Commission that a sidewalk will be put up on the north side, which would be by the townhouses. My concern is, where is this water going to go to? And also, there's a major traffic problem already existing on Darlington Road. The entrance that they project is 5 houses in from Prestige. We have had numerous accidents on that corner of Prestige and Darlington, and the traffic at any time of the day is heavy, not just at transit in the morning or afternoon. My concern is their entrance and exit from this area would need to be moved, because I think if you're going to go ahead with this, it should be moved west, as far down into the development, away from the entrances of our park, because we're going to have problems. Because it's only a 2-lane road, and with no sidewalks, cars are going to go around traffic that are going to go in or out of that townhouse park, and they're going to go up on the lawns of our owners' homes. And I object to that, because I know it's going to happen. It does already happen. It's only going to get worse. So I am not for this, and I just want to state my objection to this being approved unless things are done to rectify the existing problems and to conserve nature. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to speak to this item from the public? Seeing no one, Ms. Wilhite, you want to come back?
Good afternoon again. With regard to the density, the land use in this area is Res 9, 9 units per acre. The zoning allows 12 units per acre, limited by the comp plan of 9 units per acre. So the density is the appropriate density. It's what you have planned for that area. It's infill. It's actually a great project to come with a fee simple townhome project in this location. I have our project engineer, which has looked at the drainage issues and is familiar with it. So I'm going to bring him up and have him explain that to you, and then we'll bring up Steve Henry to talk about the transportation review that he has done.
Okay. Please state your name and address, and if you've been sworn.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Commissioners. Jeremy Couch with Tampa Civil, 17937 Hunting Bow Circle, Suite 102, Lutz 33558. As Ms.
Have you been sworn?
I have been sworn,
Oh,
yes.
thank you. Thank you.
As Ms. Wilhite stated, we have looked at the drainage in this area. What the woman testified to is absolutely correct. The mobile home community to the south has no infrastructure, and that land drains directly into Darlington, and it sits because the owner of this property historically built up a berm, which does not allow the water to, once the water jumps the road, it really doesn't allow the water to get out. What I'd like to let them know is that when we're developing, it's 2019, we're going to put in infrastructure. We're going to build a roadside swale, we're going to build a sidewalk, we're going to capture the water on our side of the road that sits there, and we're going to route it around into the large wetland, which is to the north. Once it gets there, it doesn't have any problems. On the other side of Sunray, which Ms. Hernandez was talking about, the low area, that's actually about 150-acre mitigation area that was constructed about 25 years ago. So there's really, for the Holiday Center, which is the Publix, I think, on the corner of Sunray and 19. So if we can get the water, we can take it, and we can help alleviate that problems. Something else to note is that our driveway, a lot of the homes on Darlington, there's, I think, maybe 10 or 12 there, they back out directly onto the street, and they're very close to the edge of pavement. We're actually going to have a large throat, so none of our homes will back out directly onto the street. Our homeowners will go into the community and then split. And as they leave the community, there's going to be adequate stacking, so that way they can see whether or not there's a traffic issue to make a movement.
Okay.
And I can answer any other questions if you need it. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
just have one question.
Mr. Moore?
So you're stating that what drainage work you plan on doing might actually help the current situation some?
It's going to make a huge impact on the current situation.
So it would actually be better for
It's
them.
going to be a much better situation for them. I mean, we've had our surveyors in the field. We've watched it over the last month. We know exactly what the problem is. We've spent hours and hours in the field, and we're going to fix that problem.
So this might be a question for staff. If they're talking about a separate development that has a berm there that's causing a problem, should that development have to possibly fix that issue?
That's the project in its existing condition is what he testified.
Existing condition.
I thought you said there was, no, you mentioned there was a different one.
The property vacant right now has a berm, which blocks the water.
Okay,
When-
gotcha.
When we build and we regrade the right-of-way, then we can take it and take it around
Okay.
into the wetlands.
Great, thank you.
Right. Okay. All right.
Good afternoon, Steve Henry, Links and Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa 33607, and I have been sworn.
Okay. Thank you.
Not required as a part of the zoning, but we've actually done the traffic analysis that will be submitted with the construction plans, and we've looked at Darlington, and based on our analysis of the proposed project, the roadway will operate at acceptable level of service based on your criteria. We also looked at the intersection of Sunray and Darlington, and that will also operate. So there really is, from your criteria standpoint, there is no capacity or operational problems there.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And that would conclude what we wanted to make sure you heard. We're fortunate that this is just a rezoning to a Euclidean district, but because the team has been engaged, they're able to answer your questions. So thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just make a statement. I do like the fact that it's going to be fee simple.
Yep. Okay. Pleasure of the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Mr. Chairman, I mean, I know the concerns are about drainage, so it sounds like you're going to be actually helped on that
Yeah.
situation.
From what I hear from them, I think they're
Yeah,
going to help,
which
and it'll
it's
be
been
better than it is now. So.
Which is good. And we talk about density. I mean, I'm looking across the street at the density. That's pretty tight already, so I don't
Yeah.
think there's any, there's no case for not approving something for the density. I mean, I don't even see any trees across the street, and there's at least going to be trees remaining
Well.
on this property because it has the wetlands and the mitigation area already back there, so
Well,
it's a place for the water to go
in
to.
this last couple weeks or this past month, with all the water we've had,
Yeah. So I
there's
think it'll be a
plenty
benefit.
plenty of
Anything.
ways to help that situation, so.
I know that was some of their concerns, so it's good to hear that's going to be better than it is now.
All right.
So I'll move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Let's move to P7.
Hello again, Amy Heiler, Planning and Development. Item PDD 190921 is a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment in the name of CPAL 1905, Aiken Mixed Use, a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment. The subject property is located within the South Market area and urban service area north of State Road 54, approximately 1,400 feet west of Cypress Creek. The petitioner is seeking a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map from Res 3, residential 3 dwelling units per gross acre to PD to allow for a mix of uses to include residential, office, commercial, and retail. The subject property is currently vacant and predominantly surrounded by single-family residential, commercial, and office uses. As you see here, this is the proposed future land use 2 PD plan development. And these are the comprehensive plan policies and objectives that this amendment is consistent with. So with that, we recommend the Board of County Commissioners find the amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and authorize transmittal to the Department of Economic Opportunity and other reviewing agencies. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions now? Applicant?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners Clark Hobby, Hobby and Hobby, PA 109 North Brush Street, Tampa, Florida, have been sworn. I have with me Kelly Love, who's a planner with Clearview Land Design, and she'll be speaking for part of my time. I believe the chairman was going to authorize 7 minutes for me and 7 minutes for the one objector.
7 minutes for the other.
Yes, sir. I'll try to make this brief. We've been working on this project for about a year now with staff. We've met with the HOA reps in February, and it's our understanding that the HOA reps next door had no objection. The subject site that we're on has Res 3 future land use, and all we're seeking to do is to increase or to change it to PD for allowing up to 280 dwelling units and 49,500 of commercial or office. The site's at a signalized intersection on State Road 54 at its intersection with a collector road in Oak Grove. It has a transit facility out front. The whole area has been urbanizing over many years, but particularly since the 2011 adoption of the urban service area criteria, which specifically are asking and requiring the county to focus its growth in this corridor as part of the urban concentration areas. There's been significant retail, mixed use, and residential intensity and density added in this corridor. And basically, this site, when our neighbor who's already got COM and C2 to the direct west of us builds his out, almost everything will have been built out from Livingston all the way to I-75. And I think this board's aware that with Cypress Creek Town Center and the other MPUDs in the area, including the Brightwork Crossing project, there's a substantial amount of increased density and intensity in the area. And not to mention, we're directly across the street from some very intense dealership uses. I think the Furman dealerships total probably close to 100,000 square feet of dealerships across the street. So we believe we're consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the South Market area and the urban service area. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly so she can make a little bit of a record about the other comp plan policies.
Okay. Please state your name and address, and if you've been sworn.
Kelly Love, Director of Entitlement Planning, Clearview Land Design, 3010 West Azeel, Tampa, Florida, 33609, and I have been sworn.
Okay, thank you.
As Clark and Amy have said, we feel this project and this comp plan amendment is consistent with comprehensive plan policies. Dating back to the settlement agreement in 2011, a lot of these specific policies are for projects specifically like this. In a nutshell, the county encourages development along this corridor. It has policies in place to have mobility fees to incent increased density in this area, and it promotes live-work projects such as this. Blue Policy 1.1.2 says the county shall optimize public infrastructure by concentrating land uses where public facilities that are necessary and available. This project is located where there is existing transportation, transit, water, sewer. It's perfect infill development. The establishment of the South Market area was a dual role. The South Market area is supposed to be the gateway of the county. It's supposed to be live-work areas, higher design, intensity, density, and always, again, emphasizes transit usage. the current future land use of Res 3 is not appropriate for a high-density transit area. The existing entire South Market area is located in the urban concentration area. The majority of new growth and infill is supposed to be in this area. In addition, the amendment is consistent with Urban Service Area Policy 1.4.3, transitional land uses. The Pasco County Comp Plan states that you should evaluate comp plan amendments to ensure transitional land uses provide the buffer between densities and residentials. According to Pasco County Comprehensive Plan Exhibit 2.2, related to that policy, the requested PD future land use is adjacent to Res 9 and ROR, and the chart says that a PD future land use is compatible transitional land use with the adjacent future land use policies. Because this is a PD, we will be coming forward with an MPUD rezoning. We've been working on with that for almost a year as well. That's scheduled to come before you October 22nd, so you can confirm with the neighbors that we're working on the specific site design requirements to make sure it is compatible.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you. As a public hearing, and the person that was going to speak on the other side? Are you the only one going to speak for the group?
Yes.
Okay. Name and address, and if you've been sworn.
I have been sworn. My name is John Pofka. I live at 2133 Foggy Ridge Parkway, Land O'Lakes, Florida 34639.
Okay. And you have 7 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
To put this into proper perspective, I live on Foggy Ridge Parkway about 411 feet north of the State Road 54 right away. I've lived there for the past 22 years. 15 years ago, I was elected to the Board of Directors of the Twin Lakes Subdivision Association. This is a Florida-based homeowners association, HOA. 12 years ago, I became the treasurer, and I noticed that even though we're a small HOA of 234 homes, the HOA at that time had very limited reserves and no savings. So under my direction, the HOA built up its reserves to the point where we actually weathered the 2009-2010 recession. And just a year ago, July of 2018, as we had planned, we had our roads repaved. We wrote a check to Pasco County to pay off the contractor $250,000. The balance due remaining was then assessed as a special assessment, but it was reduced to $340 per home. And many of our people, homeowners, took advantage of the Pasco County program and spread that out over 10 years at a 4% interest rate. As homeowners, we care what happens in our neighborhood, and let me repeat, our neighborhood. As a board backed by a property manager, we enforce our bylaws, and we have been rewarded by seeing our property values steadily increasing since the lows of 2010. Zoning laws, when I took my course a few decades ago, were supposed to be separate, disparate functions into specific slots. That way you would have no schools next to chemical factories or no residences next to manufacturing plants. So if you start from the southeast corner of this trust, the Aiken Land Trust, you proceed northwest, you will run through the commercial district that they have proposed, run into a high-density apartment that they're also proposing, and then you run into my neighborhood, which is a single-family detached residences. I'm guesstimating R9 because my lot is 1/8 of an acre, and it is just about 8 to the acre. When I first heard about the Aiken Land Trust, it was less than a month ago. They've been working with county staff for over a year, and I heard about it through a 2-page document offered by one of the neighbors who was adjoining. He was supposed to have got that notice, and he came to me with it. I went to the Pasco County website, and my search of Aiken Trust brought up a pre-app meeting, Aiken project, not a public meeting. There was no other disclosure. Buried in the heading of the lines on the website, Pasco County website, 2 site developments subject online submittal pre-application meeting request form dated July 24th, 2018, 12904. The project name was the Aiken Project, and the applicant's name was Kelly Love, and I asked, who is Kelly Love? I'll get to that momentarily. I had always thought of Florida as being the Sunshine State, and I concurred heartily with the sunshine laws that were enacted back in the 70s. But the question I have now is, have Florida statutes been violated? Doing business out in the open and transparently, I don't see any transparency in this case. Then I noticed that the Aiken project, the not a public meeting, was for an MPUD, a pre-approval meeting. For those not familiar with the acronym MPUD, it stands for Master Planned Unit Development District. I discovered there's 35 pages worth of zoning, coding, legalese, and et cetera. So it makes sense to me that the Aiken Land Trust, based in Atlanta, Georgia, would like some guidance in getting through that maze. So they hired the Clearwater Land Design Tampa, which is where Kelly Love works. That's how Kelly Love came into this whole thing. I did attend the Planning Commission session held the 8th of August in Dade City Historic Courthouse. I discovered that I was the only one there asking any questions about a comprehensive land change. It made no sense to me. I have yet to see any sort of plan or plat for the site. I did hear that Aiken Land Trust wanted to start off with 5 stories for their high-density apartments, but then they had to scale that back to 3 stories based on, and that's where I've got nothing but questions. Picture now a 35-foot tall building with someone 30 feet in the air looking down into the backyards of some of my neighbors. Quite frankly, it looks to affect 20 plus of my neighbors in the 340 homes that we've got in the development. These are the homes that back onto the north side of the Aiken Trust plant. My HOA already tells the homeowners what to do with their front yard. You gotta mow the yard, you gotta clean your driveway, you gotta trim your bushes, you gotta paint your house, you gotta clean your roof, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Under the proposed amendment, these homeowners would then walk into their backyard and look up to see somebody staring back at their privacy in their backyard is gone. Many will look to sell out. And quite frankly, since there are few prospective buyers that would care for the double hit to their privacy of ownership of the home, enters the LLC, limited liability company. This is where a lawyer cobbles together a few investors and buys the home cheap, turning it into a rental income property. As we all know, renters do not take care of the houses like an owner does. And I'm telling you, the property values will go down. In a few years, when I look to downsize, I can hear the realtor now apologizing for the comparable sales being lower than what I expected. So I wouldn't be getting what I want out of my home. And looking closer at the scenario, I realized that there is a pattern. They went from agriculture 1, resident 1, to resident 3, and they're going up on the price on these things. To give you a history, there was lost myself. There was a builder, A.G. Spanos, which is the same one selected by Aiken Trust, built 264 units on Bonterra Complex, State Road 56 at Northwood Palms, 3 miles east, and built in 2014, sold in 2015 for $42.3 million. At that rate, I project that this 280 project will more likely than not bring $60 million into the Aiken Trust. And that's basically what this is all about. Backed by a healthy dose of neighbors, what neighbors and who cares? Right now, to get to State Road or to Interstate 75, I have to cross 3 lanes of high-speed traffic. And if we start increasing the traffic for these high-density apartments, I'm not going to be able to get across. Basically, I'm done unless you've got questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, we can't ask questions, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can ask
We
questions.
can ask questions?
You
Okay.
can at this point.
Oh, we can? Okay.
At this point,
Oh, we
yeah.
just doing that, yeah. I think, can we, I'm going to ask Mr. Steinschneider maybe to step in a little bit, because I think we need some more clarity, too, because there were some questions asked. Talk a little bit about what's happening today, and then what would happen when they actually submit plans, okay?
So this is a transmittal hearing, transmitting the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the Department of Economic Opportunity for comments by basically state and regional agencies. It will then come back to you for adoption at some point. Ms. Love had an October date. I'm assuming that that's correct, if it gets through the review process. the comprehensive plan sets the large-scale tone of your, of what the property will be used for. In this particular case, you have more information than you would usually have, because it is a plan development. It's going to a plan development category. So they have disclosed the number of unit types that, or the number of units that that they're seeking to authorize. If the board thinks that, I mean, ultimately, this at transmittal, if the board believes that this is the appropriate planning category for this site, then it makes sense to transmit it and get comments. If the board doesn't think that it is the appropriate density intensity for this piece of property, you need to think twice about transmitting it. But the actual adoption hearing for this property would be when it comes back from the state, and you have the opportunity to make that decision after getting input from state agencies.
So let me continue. So, it would actually be an MPUD rezoning hearing.
Yes,
At that point.
there would be both a comprehensive plan ordinance adoption hearing and at some point, either coterminously or sometime after that, a MPUD zoning hearing.
So I'm just gonna, so as, I can only speak for myself, and Mr. Steinschneider, being an attorney, he can correct me if I'm wrong. At this point, we can assume what may or may not go there, but we don't know for sure until we see the plan for the actual, and they bring that into us for the development itself, the MPUD rezoning. You follow me?
Which was part of my major objection, because first I heard 30,000 feet on the commercial retail side. Then it went to 49,000 at the zoning commission over on Pasco, Dade County, Dade City. And now it's gone back to 34,000, so I've got a shifting target going on here.
Yeah.
So as I said, this is because the comprehensive plan category that is being sought is not your typical comprehensive plan category. It is a plan development category. They have basically said, according to the staff report, that it would allow for an increase of up to 280 residential units and 42,000 square feet of non-residential development.
Working on it for a year with county staff, and we have been excluded more or less, and we're neighbors. I mean, I live less than 400 feet from where this property is going to be going up.
And
we were never included in any of the planning processes.
Well, but that's not how the process goes. Your public hearing is now.
Okay.
And it was before Planning Commission. That's the public input portion of this process.
Which is why I'm here.
Yeah. Explain, maybe go a little bit more farther. When will the notice be for the rezoning, and it has to be published, and there has to be, well, basically a stake in the ground?
I'll let staff answer that question.
Okay, yeah. Because there has to be, like the gentleman stating, when it goes to the rezoning, there has to be a public notice that states that's coming before us. So
just like today's hearing, there will be newspaper ads, there will be mailed notice,
there will be. There's also a display at the site.
Yes.
And I had to go look for it to find it.
So there has to be one for the rezoning, so that would have to change again. So staff, if you could answer that question, when would that have to be? I see everybody turning around looking at your eyes, but.
Amy Heiler, Planning and Development. The MPUD is scheduled to be heard September 5th, and then the adoption is going to align with the comprehensive plan October 22nd. October 22nd.
So September 5th at the Planning Commission.
Yeah, yes. So the very first hearing for the MPUD will be September 5th, and then you will hear it in October.
That's not with this board, that's with the.
That's with the Planning Commission.
Planning Commission, correct.
Right, and it comes back to this board when?
October 22nd.
Okay. And then,
So to answer the gentleman's question, when will the neighbors be noticed?
They
Pardon?
had already been noticed, Amy Heiler.
Yes. Denise Hernandez, I have an affidavit of mailing that I'm looking at right now. That was sent out on August 12, 2019, and the sign was posted on the property on August 12, 2019. So they've already been noticed for those public hearings regarding the Master Plan Unit Development District rezoning.
Okay. And I just asked because the gentleman said he didn't receive notice, so that's why I'm asking.
I got none.
How far away from you from the property line are you?
Between 300 and 400 feet. I haven't measured it yet.
From the
Northwest corner property, Aiken Trust.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
would the neighborhood get noticed with something like this? I mean, don't we have more involvement when we have PDs or, zonings coming up?
Well, I believe they've stated that's on the site.
Right, but don't we have like a neighborhood meeting, we kind of invite people in to talk about this? I mean, I know we're doing two things at once, but even while the second one's coming, which is coming right behind this, you would think
Perhaps
that through the
the
process.
planning director or Ms. Hernandez would like
I
to
can
answer that
question, I
question.
apologize. So the actual subdivision through the management company was actually noticed, and the certificate of notice actually includes 116 residents that were noticed. And the noticing requirements in the Land Development Code are 500 feet from the project boundary.
I just confirmed with my president, Karen Mason, she's here, I might want to have that added to the record. She's not aware of it, as the treasurer, I'm not aware of it. You're talking about 2 members of the 7-member board of directors.
It would go to Homes, not the HOA. Would it go to the HOA, or?
It goes to West Coast Management
West Coast
off of
Property.
Ehrlich Road.
Yep,
That's where it goes.
okay. So we may have an internal breakdown in our communications. I'll check
Mhm.
that one out.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've noticed, but I don't know what happened to in your area.
Exactly.
And the
Mail
noticing
gets lost, I know that, so.
And the noticing requirements are based on the ownership as listed in the property appraiser's office.
Right. Okay. Okay. Does Clark need to come back and speak?
Well, if staff has anything to add, now would be their opportunity, and then Mr. Hobby gets rebuttal.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it doesn't sound like staff has anything to add. I would say a couple of things. We did include the gentleman that you just heard in our revised notice. We have a stamp thing from the post office that includes him on it. We measured it to his house. It's actually just over 1,000 feet. We're only required to notice within 500 feet, but because he was at Planning Commission, we included him, so we're kind of confused at how he didn't get noticed. Regardless, some of the issues that he's raising, I think, really more concern the MPUD master plan, as Commissioner Moore's alluding to. And I will tell the board right now, I'm going to go back and meet with he and the board again after today's meeting. We did meet with, I think it was 3 or 4 members of the board in February and had not heard any objection, and we're sending them notices. I think we've sent 2 notices to them now after our February meeting. So, and I apologize, even though it's not my issue. The county labels the pre-app meetings, it puts in parentheses, not a public meeting. That's just something I think the county does to alert members of the public that there's not room in the meetings for that. But I don't think you've heard any objection here to the actual plan amendment before you. So I would ask you to move the plan amendment along. I will go back and meet with the association and make sure that we're all speaking the same language.
No, since Mr. Hobby brought that up, no, the pre-app meeting, which is not pre-approval meeting, it's pre-application
Right,
meeting.
pre-application,
Is not a sunshine law meeting,
Right.
nor is it designed to have for members of the public. It is just, we put it on the website so that people might know that things are moving through the process.
Right. That's right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Pleasure of the board.
So, again, since this can move, I'll let this move forward.
Yeah.
But the MPUD rezoning is when we need to have between now and then have that discussion, okay?
Right.
So that's a motion for this portion and move forward.
Okay.
Second.
You got a
So
motion?
you're
and a
moving
second?
transmittal of the comprehensive
Yes.
plan amendment.
Right.
Yes, let's make sure we're all on the same page.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. This time, we have a resolution on employee retirement.
Yes, sir. So I apologize, a little miscommunication. You approved a resolution on your consent agenda this morning. The teammate is here, and if you will
Like her to come
ask her to
forward, or-
come forward, Ms. McGregor. She's a wonderful employee and gave 30 years to Pasco County, so we want to talk about her.
We welcome you to our meeting. Thank you for coming.
Okay, resolution number 19-231, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, expressing appreciation to Barbara J. McGregor, Deputy Clerk for the Office of the Clerk and Controller, for her 30 years of outstanding service to Pasco County. Whereas Barbara McGregor was hired on August 7, 1989, as a Deputy Clerk for the Clerk of Circuit Court and County Controller. And whereas during her career with the Clerk and Controller, Ms. McGregor served as a trial clerk, lead trial clerk, trial specialist, operations lead, and records clerk 4. And whereas Ms. McGregor's proficiency and knowledge in the performance of her duties had a positive impact on the success of operations. And whereas Ms. McGregor, as a trial clerk, spent nearly 2,500 hours in court and processed thousands of judgments, probation orders, Department of Correction transfer packets, restitution liens, impound orders, bond forfeitures, hearing notices, and revocations. And whereas Ms. McGregor, as an operations lead and records clerk 4, created well over 2,100 cases, docketed over 58,000 pleadings, scanned over 500,000 images, created capias, satisfactions of judgments, judgment liens, payoff settlements. And whereas Ms. McGregor has performed these tasks while working in multiple systems such as the Criminal Justice Information System, Juvenile Justice Information System, Traffic Infraction System, Clerks Cashiering, TrackMan, File Tracks, Criminal Image Viewer, Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, Dr. Watson, Clericus, and the Comprehensive Case Information System, just to name a few. And whereas Ms. McGregor has worked tirelessly in her efforts on behalf of her teammates in implementing procedures for the advisory desk, as well as being an integral part of the development and planning of current processes for scanning and converting paper documents to electronic images. Ms. McGregor's constant support and dedication to her teammates speaks to her exemplary character, and she is truly irreplaceable to every team member who has had the pleasure to work beside her. And whereas Ms. McGregor's compassion and dedication to her teammates lead her to receive the honor of Employee of the Month for her outstanding service and for saving a coworker's life. And whereas Ms. McGregor has routinely sung songs for her team to raise their spirits, and surprisingly, no one has complained. And whereas words cannot capture the spirit, kindness, and generosity of heart that Ms. McGregor has shared with her teammates over the last 30 years. Her contributions as a thoughtful, compassionate, and supportive team member and leader are unparalleled and will be sorely missed by the entire office. And whereas Ms. McGregor's dedication and dependability in the performance of her job duties made her an asset to the Office of the Clerk and Controller. And whereas during her more than 30 years, Ms. McGregor diligently and conscientiously served the citizens of Pasco County and customers of the Clerk and Controller in her position, ensuring integrity while providing outstanding service. And whereas on August 9th of 2019, Ms. McGregor retired from the Office of the Clerk and Controller, and the Board of County Commissioners and the Clerk and Controller deem it appropriate to recognize her contributions to both the customers of the Clerk and Controller's office and the citizens of Pasco County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners, Pasco County, Florida, in session duly assembled, that said board hereby expresses its deepest appreciation to Barbara J. McGregor for her more than 30 years of service to the citizens of Pasco County, done and resolved in regular session with a quorum and voting this 20th day of August 2019.
Got a motion All those in favor say aye. Aye. Say aye.
Move for approval.
We've already done it.
Oh, you did? You
Just
did it
say
during the
aye.
clapping?
Just say aye.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right.
All right, motion
That's
passed. Welcome. The mic's yours.
Do you want to say anything, Barb?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I have a great group.
Well, let's go down and
Great
take a
team.
picture with her and.
Great.
Thank you, Barb. You've been a wonderful asset to our office for 30 years, and we hope you've enjoyed the last, 2 weeks? 1 week?
I had my grandbabies for the
Oh, that's
past
awesome.
2 weeks. I'm a little tired.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's funny.
Hey, Tom could be here if you want.
Carol and Michelle, come in a picture. They'll take one. We can get one from them. Do you guys, want to bring the rest of the team down? Yeah.
Congratulations.
Rest of you, come on out.
You got a dress, are you got a dress code? I can count your toes.
I think that one only has 4. That one has 3. I got the binding fixed on that one.
Thank you.
Yay.
Enjoy your retirement. Oh, geez, okay. That's good.
I don't know.
Now, everybody here, how's that? Okay, we're gonna move to, our.
have a quorum. Oh.
We have a quorum.
R4.
I got them off to the side.
They really need to be.
Yeah.
I guess.
You need to sit down, right?
You have a quorum now.
Okay. We'll move on to R4. Who's gonna do this?
R4, Public Works.
You might have stepped out.
They're out that door there. I can see through the glass.
They're probably talking to the district commissioner.
There's the problem.
But no, it's.
It's his birthday.
Good afternoon, Ainsley Caldwell, Public Works. And we're looking at PW 190111. There are 5 projects here, Bass Lake Acres, Cranes Roost, Ricky Lakes, Lake World Acres, and Lakewood Villas. Back in 2017, the Board of County Commissioners authorized the temporary repairs of storm-damaged roads, and it was conditioned that we bring these back to the board for, board-initiated projects. Public Works is seeking to have the BCC direct us to proceed with these projects as board-initiated. Okay. The first one is Bass Lake Acres, and there are 10 roads involved. They're county-maintained, paved. The estimated cost is $1.025 million. The maximum cost per ERU is $6,925.91. The discounted amount, the county's contribution is $221,932, and the maximum cost per ERU after the discount is $5,444.43.
How's that paid back?
It's over a 10-year period,
Okay,
as per the ordinance.
right.
This is a location map, and just to give a quick view of, is there a delay? Or, just some quick photographs of the road condition there. This is Bass Lake Drive and O'Neill. This is also close to that location, given the condition of the road. Moving on to the next project, Cranes Roost, there are 6 streets. Estimated cost is $729,093. The maximum cost per ERU is $9,000. The discounted amount is $161,773. After the discount, the ERU goes down to $7,000.86. A couple photographs. Well, this is a location map. A couple photographs, Planters Lane and Cranes Roost Drive. Planters Roost again, Cranes Roost Drive. Yep. And moving on to Richey Lakes, there are 16 roads. They're county maintained, paved. Estimated cost is just over $2 million, $2,062,532. Maximum cost per ERU is $6,569.62. The county's contribution would be $438,884, and the maximum cost per ERU after the discount is $5,177.21. A couple, the location map, and then a couple photographs. That's Medlar Drive. This was Stell Drive a couple months ago. We had to go in and do some work. So it's not like that now, but that's how it was a couple months ago. Thank you. Moving on, Lake Worrell Drive. There are only 2 streets involved here. The estimated cost is $585,291. The maximum cost per ERU is $11,398.09. Discounted amount is $123,573. And the maximum cost per ERU after the discount is $8,789.57. Location map and existing conditions at Cameo Drive, Broad Street. Moving on to the next project, Lakewood Villas, and that involves 11 streets. They're county maintained, they're paved. Estimated cost is $1,041,197. Maximum cost per ERU is $4,116.87. Discounted amount is $198,555.94. Maximum cost per ERU after the discount is $3,337.65. Location map. Road conditions at Cedar and Lingo Court. And we're asking for your directive. All of these would not be done at one time, it would be phased over time.
It'd be phased.
Over time, yes.
Okay. Any questions?
Chairman,
Yep.
if
Mr.
I
Wells?
could, and I believe all of these are in my district, and
Yes,
I
sir.
can tell you, as a board, we all agreed that when these came forward, we understood that we needed to approve them, and I get that. But what I would like to see on some of these, and keep in mind, some of these roads right now are underwater, which means maybe we need to do a different kind of paving there. I don't know. I just know that, Cranes Roost has a couple roads underwater. Bass Lake has a couple roads underwater. Again, as a board, I agreed, and we've approved other ones, and I get it. The prices, I think, are a little higher than I think we've seen because of the bids, and I get that, but it's up to the board. But I would ask, I know we're looking at doing a paving assessment process a little bit different, and I know we're looking at putting some things out to bid, putting the paving assessment stuff back out to bid again. I don't know. Again, it's tough because I know we approved other ones, and it's tough because some of it's low-income area, and we want to do what's right, and I know some of them would qualify for assistance and so forth, but it doesn't make it any easier with the timing of this, and again, I'm just feeling for the residents that are out there. But what I wouldn't mind seeing is at least us postpone this until, when do we think we'll have the new paving assessment process as well as the bids? Will it be by the end of the year?
Well, in terms of the paving contract, that's now being reviewed by purchasing and then onto the attorneys and through the entire process. In terms of what Brantford Public Works Director is looking at, I'm not too sure when that is coming out. I know it's almost ready.
Mike, would
Jamie,
you know?
do you?
I don't mean to put you on the spot, or
I was just talking to Jamie.
I believe we're already, sorry, Mike Carvalho, Public Infrastructure. We're already interacting with purchasing on pushing that through, so it'll be
But
going
I'm
towards.
not saying the amount is gonna, I don't think the amount will go up. I'm not saying the amount's gonna go down, but I don't think the amount's gonna go up. I think this is probably the most we're gonna see. But I'm concerned about some of the roads that hold water. They're gonna continue to hold until we get, I know we have fixes that are funded, that are in the works, that are gonna help these communities, and I can't wait to get it done, but it takes time. But I just wonder if the board, we could, and again, it's tough for me because I've approved other ones, and we all agree we would. And I agree, we need to approve these too, but I just wonder if we can't maybe wait a little bit. I don't know what 6 months is gonna do to the process.
Evidently, we're not going to be able to pave them with being underwater. One thing I'd like to ask Ansley is,
Ainsley.
Sorry. Do we have a different foundation coming here with some concrete or something to
This
hold
is
these roads together, and that's part of the expense?
This is the full depth reclamation we're recommending.
Yeah, because that water sitting there all the time is not going to be good on a new road either, so.
Right, but with the cement base, it is less pervious. It's not gonna dissolve the lime rock base.
Right. Mr. Mariano?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Wells, I think you're dead on the money. You know, we look at these numbers and with the new bids, I mean, they've gone up. You know, I was looking at Holiday Hills, a bid that was out in 2017 of last year. It went up over 25%. And I just couldn't pull the trigger on the new price yet. I want to see what the new bids are as well. I think it's a wise idea to actually take a look, see it. We put ourselves in position to do the comparison. So I think your idea on this is actually the absolute way to go, especially because we can't pave the road right now anyway. So let's get the new bids in, let's compare them too, and then we'll know what's the best way to go from here.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to say,
Mr.
I'm
Moore?
fine with that too. You know your district. I'm sure you talk to the residents and know what the deal is more than all of us do. So if that's what you want to do, I'm good with that too. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you need to take any action at all then.
One thing I'd like to bring up too is we're going to see the engineering coming shortly for Hidden Lake, which is in your district. And we're looking at that to help cure some of these issues with this water on in these particular roads, because that's where it falls. And I think that engineering's coming to us pretty soon. And of course, we're waiting on a grant through FEMA. Hopefully it comes soon also, which would be a great project. And the end result of that one, I've heard, should help 60 homes stay out of a floodplain instead of what it's been through and these roads have been through. So that's all going to help all this area.
Agree.
Looks like we won't pave these before it gets dry anyway, right?
Not likely.
So I would just, my motion would be just to continue to a unknown time.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Does that go to the board? I'll need a motion to that?
no, we got a
Or
motion.
just to
second.
continue?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm uncertain.
okay. You got a
These are
motion?
not advertised hearings, so I assume it's whenever the administrator
Can bring them back whenever
deems
we're
Bring
ready
it
to.
back, Okay.
necessary to bring
Yeah.
it back.
So I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
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 And
Opposed,
thank
like
you,
sign.
Ainsley. I mean,
Motion
you and your
passed.
team do a great job.
Yeah.
You did a great job preparing this, very detailed, so I appreciate it.
It's a great project, so.
Thank you.
Yep. Also, now let's move to R5. Is that yours too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I figured as much.
This is the Bear Creek project. It was discontinued, it was resident initiated, and it failed. And then the board initiated it in February 24, 2016. And there was some opposition and it was discontinued. In June of this year, we sent out the ballots of a possible 708 votes. 308 responded, 137 were yes, 171 no, and the project failed petition again. This project consists of 24 streets, county maintained, paved. The estimated cost is $1.8 million, and the maximum cost per ERU is $2,557.39. The discounted amount is $289,018. And after discount, the maximum cost per ERU is $2,168.04.
What was the vote again, Angie?
Could you go back, please? It was 137 yes and
Oh,
171.
I thought you said
no.
121.
Sorry, 171. No.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. Location map.
That's a reasonable cost, though.
Sorry?
That's a very reasonable cost, it looks like, on that project.
It's based on what we.
Oh, yeah,
we
that's right.
think needs to be
Number
done.
of people.
Yes, sir. Just some photographs of the road condition. This is at Wolf Den and Nature Trail and Zane Lane, Schrader Boulevard and Bear Paw, Gandhi, Briar Patch, and Commissioner Mariana asked us to bring us back to the board initiated, so
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, would you just, can you go back, I think, 2 slides? One to kind of like showing the drainage, one more slide, right in there.
yes, sir.
When we did the paving at Beacon Woods East, we had a couple of areas where the water wasn't getting to the drains. Now, I'll tell you, all the asphalt in this area here, all the asphalt sits below the gutters right now. So just by putting new asphalt, we should get a better pitch and a better drain. But there could be some areas like this one right in here that may need, like we did there, a little concrete swale. So I'd like you to take a look at doing that.
Okay.
Reason I'm bringing this back is we actually dissected these numbers a little bit tighter. If you looked at the people that are homesteaded, so the people that live there and own a home there, it was about 65 to 70% that want this paving done. Some of the people that came here to oppose it last year are saying, you know what, we've thought about, we want to bring it back. So I can tell you, we're going to definitely get a lot more support for this. I think the time is right to go do it, and if you can just make sure that we're going to make sure these swales are going to be able to work a little bit better, because this is like all over the place, but we take care of that swales, it'll keep the road for a long time as well and make it go. So I would like to, I'm going to make a motion that we move this forward to a public hearing.
Okay, got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ansley. All right, I believe that finishes all the R items. We'll move to old business.
Oh, yeah, I'm just firing up because I'm sitting here.
We can find Mr. Moore. We'll skip Mr. Moore. Go to Mr. Wells. You got anything?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was the intersection stuff, and I know, no, I'm okay. I'm good, that's all. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Mariano?
All right. I had submitted during comments earlier in the day about the Hernando County noxious plant control ordinance. It's all about getting rid of Brazilian peppers. I'd like the staff to take a look at it, bring it back to us as an item to study. I think it'll do a lot of good. I've had people from all over the county, let's say up and down the coast, mention this before, talking to Chase about it. He thought it'd be a good idea too, and that if we can get rid of Brazilian peppers when so needed, that we can make that happen. And I think it's good for the environment to go do that. Ms. County Attorney, did you get a chance to look at it during the break, or?
I did. This Hernando County ordinance was brought up before by Commissioner Starkey, and the board didn't wish to move forward with it. If the board has, has a different opinion now, I would ask the administrator to assign one of his team, either Cooperative Extension or Natural Resources, somebody that has some knowledge of noxious plants to assist the county attorney's office if the board wishes to move forward.
Okay. I had mentioned this before. I don't recall Commissioner Starkey, but I think it's a good one to go forward with, so.
The issue with it is, the way it is written, it will require these Brazilian peppers, I think they call out lead tree, in a lot of other jurisdictions, it's Melaleuca, not only from properties which are developing, but from all properties, and that's a big ticket item. But if that's what the board wishes to do, I mean, we can adopt the ordinance.
Okay. I'd like to introduce it, and then we go take a look at it, and we'll have a public hearings on it so we can discuss it.
But I don't have staff to, I mean, we can put the ordinance together, but I really, this is going to require some scientific background. Even, I mean, granted, we've got another jurisdiction who's done it, but you need to hear from your experts about whether it's a good idea for us.
Okay.
Can we bring a report back, Mr. Biles, on that, or?
Yeah, we can We can look into it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. That's,
I mean, but as the county attorney mentioned, this applies to every property in the county, not just developing properties. So that's
pretty broad.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
A code issue. So that's what you would be using. The way you think this is written, it's a code enforcement violation.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. Is that
All right.
everything?
Another item, I'd like to actually, a couple of things. I'd like to, again, I want to reach out to Mike Carbella and his team for stormwater utility. Literally, all the pumps we put in place from Holiday Hills, Ironbark, Gray Birch, these guys had to stay on top of it. And I'll tell you, when I'm getting calls at Friday night saying, we're pumping out Gray Birch and it's starting to keep, get that lower, but we're worried about Ironbark and, what's going to happen there. And, we're talking, well, the Ironbark one is going to start pumping probably on its own now, where the other one's lowered out. We should be in pretty good shape. And I'll tell you, to drive around the next morning to see that exactly the way it should have worked out, those guys nailed it every step of the way. And I'll tell you, it's been a lot of water pumping, because what was probably 20% full up at that Gulf Highlands fill area was probably more like 40% this time. So to what they've been doing going through this whole storm, and from what I hear, we've had more storm this year than we have on average for a whole year already.
And we have 15 inches more rainfall this year than we had last year.
At the same time.
period of time.
Yeah, so it's like what they did in working the pumps. I mean, Holiday Hills one year, when we put that pipe in, they've been dry as a bone. I went by the guy's house at the highest water level to his house the other day and drove by to him. I said, how'd you make out? He goes, nothing on the street, everything's going good, you guys doing super. So really, the team was just phenomenal every step of the way. And I know you couldn't be everywhere doing everything, and we know we still got more waters coming in, but really, your team was absolutely phenomenal every step of the way.
They'll be happy to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I gave him a
Yeah,
little,
we'll pack it.
I gave him a little post on Facebook, just telling him that too. Last thing on the dredging. As you heard, the people that came today to speak were far, we saw all the emails that come out, and that was just from one meeting where I said, the people, my commissioners, need to know from you if it's important to you. They're very, very polite, very hospitable. There was actually a room full of people that were here, which I didn't know, that were here ready to speak to it, but they didn't know it was a public hearing, whatever, so they didn't speak, but they were here supporting that item. So what I saw today in the MSBU for Gulf Highlands kind of gives me a lot of clarity about how to go about this whole thing. You get a whole series of canals up and down. You get some neighborhoods that have boat ramps, some that don't, but all these canal homes, they all want to see this get done. And I think if we take the approach, and we can even start out with the first one we have already with Gulf Harbors and Hudson area, to go look at that MSBU, focus in those areas, look at what it's going to cost, and just like we broke it down in 8 different categories here, we can probably do that up and down the coast. And I think if we combine the Restart money with it to go help fund it as well as they're funding it, and put a tax increment program, I think we're going to really help the coast flourish coming up in the future. So if we can kind of get this working, I'm not expecting this to turn over real quick, because it's going to take some time to lay this all out, but if you can work on these underwater roads, as Mr. Carbella calls them, and kind of get us rolling along that way, the way you did this great job here, I think it'll provide a lot of optimism for the future. I know. But I tell you, I think it's that big for the coast that will really help. And, we talk about demographics up and down. We've done some good land use changes out there, where we've taken, instead of the residential mobile home areas where you couldn't build a home, now you can. I think you just see those homes mobile homes coming down, and lots being combined, and larger homes coming in there. And I think that the whole area is going to flourish, especially now we've got scalloping going on.
Since you brought it up about the dredging, I was going to bring it also up in my business. I've heard from many citizens over here with Gulf Harbors, Gulf Woodlands, and different areas, and I agree with them. I would like to see all that dredging too, but as we all know, it costs money. So we got to come up with the funds to be able to take care of them, and taking care of them is very important, to take care of them, because if you're going to have property on the water, you need to be able to get in and out, because that's the purpose of it. And these canals, I guess, have been left too long without having them dredged, and have the silt and all that's come in them from the roadways and things of that nature that's built up, where they cannot, move around like they should be able to, even during low tide. So I understand that. I'm in full agreement that they need to be dredged. So all those 100 emails I get coming every day, I can't answer them all. But I think this entire board is for doing something about those waterways and in the future. But we all have the same problem. We have a problem with thinking about the water and the money that it's going to take to take care of that. So I think we're on board. We just got to figure out how to do it.
Okay, so I think if we take the steps to go, look at the MSBU setup, look at the Restore Act money, these, in the tax increment program, so you get a home that's worth 200 grand right now, and all of a sudden, that whole area escalates up because the dredging's done, it kind of offsets what they're going to increase pay in taxes, we kind of, make it all work out. So I know it's going to be a complex thing, it's going to take a little bit of time, but if we get the ball rolling, we all agree to it, then at least we make the next step.
We need to make a smart move toward getting the funds and work that for the people, so I agree with them.
All right, do I need a motion to do it, or just, can we just?
I think.
You're just giving direction.
To give some direction. I'm just looking
No,
for direction.
we can come up with what an
With a plan?
MSBU would look like and an
Okay.
estimate, then you can see if that's palatable.
Okay. Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. That's it. Mr. Biles?
I'm ready now.
Wait, excuse me. Mr. Moore?
I can go at the end.
Sorry.
No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Mine was real easy, so just two quick things. That I had the opportunity to speak at the Greater Pasco Chamber luncheon last week, and it was a nice sold-out crowd, so they're doing good. If you're not aware of it, I think you all are aware that the Central Pasco and the West Pasco Chambers merged, so great group. We handed out the 2019 disaster plans, which they appreciated, and copies of our strategic plan to everybody. And if you haven't seen it yet, the Ryegrass Ranch Sports Complex is actually going vertical now, which is awesome.
Okay.
So it is moving upwards. Obviously, a lot of site work had to be done, but and I don't think the rain really helped things too much either, but great things happen. That's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Biles?
Yes, sir. Just a couple things. One, obviously, there was a lot of work that happened over the last few days, from emergency management to human services to public works, stormwater, and utilities to deal with some of the rainfall that we had. As an update, it appears as though the gauges in the Duck Slough area are actually going down, receding. It's good. The rivers look like they've all crested. The one note of caution is the Bass Lake, Lake Worrell area looks like it's still ticking up a little bit. It was up an inch today over yesterday, which is slowing down, so maybe it will crest today, and then we can get back down. So a few more days of dry weather will help us out there. But again, a lot of your team spent a lot of hours over the weekend doing a lot of good work all over, the county, both on the east and west side, because there were some east side issues we were dealing with. So kudos to them. But again, there's still an area of concern just north of here on the west side. And the other thing is, if you don't mind real quick, I have Ralph kind of give you an update on legislative and kind of what we're planning for the calendar as it's coming up in session soon. And we also want to talk about the Pasco Day and make sure we kind of lock down that day.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ralph Lair, Intergovernmental Affairs. So I left on the dais this morning a planning calendar for you all for upcoming events, not only with the legislature, but some events with our Florida Association of Counties, our National Association of Counties, events both in Tallahassee, Washington, as well as in Orlando and Panama City with some FAC and NACO events. But I want to focus on our Pasco County Legislative Day and try to get approval on that. We're looking at June, and when I say we're looking, I've been working with my counterparts in both Hillsborough County and Pinellas County to try to get our boards up there the same day. If you remember last year when we were up there, the Hillsborough County BOCC was up in Tallahassee, and they were doing Hillsborough Day out in the courtyard. Hillsborough Day has been picked to be on the second day of session, January 15th, which is Wednesday. So that's the day that the Pinellas County BOCC, the Hillsborough County BOCC has elected to go up there. If that's good with you all, I'd like to have us go up there the same day. We would still probably do our breakfast separate. We would probably combine Tampa Bay Area Legislative Day and our other delegations together, maybe sit in and try to get the speaker, the president, the next incoming speaker and president to come speak to all of us in the chamber to kind of like cut back on meetings, and then we'll have some separate individual meetings as well. So if you're good with that, like to go for that, and then that would, I just put the one day on there, but if you all would like, You could travel up like we normally do on Tuesday and return on Thursday, but my focus is only going to be for that Wednesday to try to get those meetings together.
What's the pleasure?
That's good. I'm good.
Good for me.
Yeah. Sounds good. Mr. Chairman, the calendar's good. Is the NACO legislative day, I mean, the FAC legislative day, is that, does it start on the 15th?
That's what they have on their calendar. The fly-in for Washington is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you all have the invite, the state of Florida, Alabama, and Georgia to go to the White House. That's on the 17th.
Okay. And to the legislative day for Tallahassee, that we want to go up.
Again, January 15th.
Right. And the legislative day for FAC is then?
Originally, they were looking at the 15th,
Okay.
but they just changed it last week,
So,
I found
so
out.
we'll keep it the same. Okay.
Yeah, and so now they've moved it to the end of January.
Okay. All right, yeah, looks good.
So it would be 2 separate trips.
Good, we
Anything
have
else?
to have a motion, or? we need
As
a
long as
motion?
you're good with that,
That
then I
direction?
can, yeah, then I'll move forward with that, and we'll put out public notice as well on our website. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ralph.
If I could, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I forgot to bring up one item. There's going to be an opening for the National Association of Counties Florida representative for a Board of Directors member. And if the board supports it, I'd like to put my name in to be one of the considerations for that.
Okay.
But I need to get your support to make it happen.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. That'd be good.
All right, thank you.
You're done?
Yeah, I'm done, sir.
Done, you?
I'm done.
You're
That was
done?
it. Yeah, those 2 things.
Mr. Steinsnyder?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
2 quick things. Very happy
Okay.
birthday to Commissioner Wells. Got to hang out with us today, right?
40 years old.
Normally you'd think you'd go
Birthday.
fishing on his birthday.
That's okay.
And then I wanted to mention on N28, the Volunteer Way, it was actually addressed to Dr. O'Neill, but the $25,000 that she had asked for board's approval to the Volunteer Way, she presented the check and they sent a thank you note to the board. So I just want to make sure you guys
Okay,
noticed
good.
that. So,
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? That's it? And we've all talked about, and we know we've got flooding in our county, and we have it on the east side, we have it on the west side. I think with the additional rain we've had, 15 inches above normal from what we had last year, which was a lot of rain, we're still in pretty good shape. I know there's issues out there with water standing and water and where people can't travel, but I think we're doing a great job, and I think that's improving. So, also a thing about that is we have services for anyone, and I forget who brought it up about an elderly person that was in floodwaters. Someone brought it up talking to us earlier.
Ashwood Drive, yeah.
And we have services that will take care of them moving into an area where there's no water for them to stay during that period in time, and takes care of them when they're in floodwater like that. So my secretary's
Kim
got
Price.
that. We helped somebody on the
Yeah,
east side
yeah.
not too
Human
long ago
Services,
about that, and they're
Kim
very
Price has
appreciative.
access to different things that can help.
Yeah, so there's ways to help our elderly people when they're in a floodwater situation that they can be taken care of. So,
Yeah, and the route depends on whether they're an owner versus a renter. There's different routes
Yeah, right.
that she goes, but yes.
yeah,
And
so it's there.
And to say, staff did actually offer that to her. This lady that came to speak is in the same area too. The lady said, look, I'm going to let her take care of me. They'll move me where I need to go. They'll take me
She
back
just
and
felt more
forth.
comfortable.
She's more comfortable doing that. And by the way, thank you, Mike Carbello. He's got a pump out there already. By the time she was home, there was already a pump being installed, getting set up, and she's already seeing progress already.
Oh, that's
So
good, yeah.
thank you,
So
Mike.
we've been very reactive, I know, on some of these issues, and we're working at being more proactive at times, so it'll make it all better for us. So these issues with flooding, it's not our first ball game. It's not the first time it's ever happened here. It continues to happen in some areas. It's always going to happen. So there's a lot of good things happening in our county, and with some roadways and all in our area, we'll improve some drainage and all that as they put new roadways in. So a lot of good things are happening. Mike was mentioning earlier about the roads that are coming in. 56 is taking people off of that 54 section, and it's very much an improvement. People are coming and going off Marsh Bridge on the 56 and going to 301 on 56, so I traveled on Sunday, and there were people moving all directions, and the traffic was much better. So as you know, as we get overpass intersection coming and the realignment of State Road 52 coming, that's even going to improve it. I drove over this morning and just looked at car after car after car stockpile on 52, single lane road. 52 coming into San Ann. Once that new route of 52 is brought with the 4 lanes, you're going to see that clear up, and movement of traffic in our area on the east side will be much, much better than it is today. So all that's happening as we speak, and again, roadways and infrastructure like that comes after the development, not before. So that's all good things. So also, I don't know if any of you have ever been, you know, I've got a snow park coming in our area over on the east side. It's a great thing, but I want you to know I attended the Giraffe Ranch on Friday afternoon in the rain. And if you have never had an opportunity to go, you need to try to go sometime. That's tremendous. It's amazing what they're doing, all the different animals. They have different animals there. It's not just have a rhino and some buffalo, some different kind of gazelles or different kind of deer, also small deer and just different things. But it's actually east of Dade City, there right at Lacucci. And it's quite a deal to go see. So if you get an opportunity to go over there, it'd be something great. We have a lot of good things to see in our county and a lot of good things coming to see, like your sports, buildings starting to come up vertical. Gosh, it's amazing. No wonder people are moving into Pasco so fast.
Got it.
So a lot of great things happening, and the roadways to support it, and infrastructure. And I know Mike doesn't have much to do because of all the growth, but he's got his cup runneth over. That's all I can tell you. So, with all the growth and all the things, and the flooding doesn't help anything, but there's a lot of things. I would like to also see, and I actually put my comments in to DOT on a meeting they had at Zephyrhills City Hall this past week, and that was on the extension of 56 across 301 to 39 and then on to 98. I would hope that it would follow the line of going across, and their look, the one DOT has pinpointed as their number one look, is going across and hitting County Line Road and hitting 39. So if that happens, an area like Crystal Springs, which got a lot of water issues and all, there would be a lot of improvement in that area with the 4-lane road with drainage and all that happen too. So I think that would be a great shot in the arm for that community and for Pasco County, because that's a community that's been flooded for a long time. It's right by Hillsborough River, in this low area. So Hillsborough River's out of its banks and going toward Tampa. So a lot of water in that river itself. So, all right, with that, anybody else have anything? If not, we're adjourned.